It's time for an inside look at the most powerful motorsport on the planet. WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
It's the most exciting sport on earth as far as I'm concerned.
Take a walk through the Nitro pits as we go one-on-one with the stars of drag racing.
Hey, you're with Matt Hagan. This is Ron Capps, Matt Hagan's personal friend. You're on WFO.
Featuring the NHRA's Alan Reinhart.
Our events are truly an experience. They're not just a spectator event. They are an experience.
So get in, sit down, and hold on with host Joe Castello as he goes WFO.
Thanks, brother. Always love being on WFO, baby. Nobody brings it to you better than you, brother.
Now crank it up. It's time to go WFO. Here's your host, Joe Castello.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to WFO Radio NHRA Nitro Podcast. I'm your podcast host, Joe Castello, and we have been going for 10 years with WFO Radio. Really proud as we get closer and closer to our 10-year anniversary. We are in our 10th year, 10 years of WFO, and we've been gaining new listeners along the way, gaining and losing and gaining back, that whole deal, because of great shows like this one. On the show, we have got Steve Torrence as he gets ready for the ESPY Awards. He's heading out there. Steve Torrence going to spend a little time after his 8th consecutive final round. It is my concept that you get to know these people better and better in these long-form interviews where we cover various subjects and who knows where it's going to go. That's what WFO is all about. Long-form interviews, discussions with the stars of drag racing. So you get to know them, and maybe you end up liking someone you thought you didn't like based on their 30-second clips that you see on television. Or maybe you end up not liking someone you thought you liked. Who knows what the reason is? But Steve Torrence can lay it all out there for us. Big discussion on the show, the return to quarter-mile drag racing that was rumored and floated. The trial balloon, so to speak, was let up over New England Dragway, and we are going to ask Steve Torrence and Matt Hagan, who is also on the show. Matt Hagan, after winning 3 in a row at New England Dragway, the New England Nationals. It was a great event. Going to ask Hagan about getting back in the winner's circle, championship run potentially, the Western Swing coming up, that crazy Fu Manchu mustache, but also quarter-mile drag racing. What do you think, Matt Hagan? Is this something you think we should do, that kind of deal? When they float a trial balloon the way that they did, it's so that all of us can think about it and ponder it, all of these things. At the tail end of the show, I will delve into the beginning of my opinion. It's very interesting to watch everybody sort out their opinions. I have my opinion that I will share most of it with you, as in the whole concept, but I want to let it breathe a little bit. I'll get into that later on in the show when we talk about Boston, 4th of July weekend, the New England Nationals, all the lobster, all the fun that happened up there as well. Also on the show to talk quarter-mile drag racing, somebody who has raced quarter-mile very recently, Dominic Lagana. Dominic and his brother Bobby match race to the quarter-mile. I have been there when Dom has run quarter-mile at US 131 in Martin, Michigan. And what would it take? A fact-based deep dive into what he does to run quarter-mile. What does he think about quarter-mile? And the hard parts it would take to replace in quarter-mile. I felt like it was a good piece of information to know from someone who is actually still doing it, and that is Dom Lagana. So Dom is going to be on the show. Also, John Deflorian, Mountain Motor Pro Stock winner and champion, even though it's unofficial. He won 2 races. Nobody else won 2. That makes him the champ, in my opinion. John Deflorian picking up the win. And Tii Tharpe. We're going to try out some new electric superhero nicknames with Tii. A plug wire comes off. This guy's getting shocked at 200 miles per hour in the shutdown area, and he goes on to win the race. That is a pretty crazy deal. Is he Magneto? Is he Electro? Is he Aftershock? What is he? We're going to talk with Tii Tharpe, who has the points lead, and Mickey Thompson, Top Fuel Harley. And, of course, Alan Reinhart will join us after another great race. But right now I want to tell you about the great sponsors that make it all possible. Yeah, there's a lot of podcasts. Fortunately, we have got 10 years in, a loyal fan base, and great people who have just helped us along the way to get to this point. That's why we put out WFO Radio every single week, no matter what, for the most part, for 10 straight years. And it's thanks to people like Marvin Rodak and Rodak's Coffee and Grills.com. I got back from New England, showed up on my door, there was a box, In the box was Rodax coffee. What blend of Rodax coffee can you imagine? It was the Scott Palmer Racing Capco Final Round Blend. What are the odds? Marvin had to ship this out last week, and Scott Palmer and Capco went to the final round against each other, and the first Rodax coffee I get to enjoy is the Scott Palmer Racing Capco Final Round Blend that was made specifically with Scott Palmer in mind, because Palmer drinks Rodax coffee also. Just spectacular. You got to give Marvin a call if you want to try some of that, especially this week, the themed coffee, 817-924-6821. Great stuff. Call Marvin. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure, frankhawley.com. Just so cool to see so many of our listeners trying the Dragster Adventure, getting texts and emails, Facebook messages from time to time. People, they went on the Dragster Adventure because they heard it on WFO radio, and they loved it and had fun. You can drive a dragster, 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, quarter-mile speed, 130 miles per hour. They've got dates opening up. They travel around the country. They're coming somewhere near you, so check them out, the Dragster Adventure at frankhawley.com. And by all means, if you want to learn how to drive a top alcohol funny car or a top dragster, they can help you there as well, 866-480-7223, frankhawley.com. MagicDryUS.com. So cool to see Scott Palmer go to the final round and put himself back in the top 10 in points. Scott Palmer, Magic Dry, Cat Spot Litter, big supporters of WFO Radio. You can give them a call if you're looking for the Magic Dry, 833-221-2257. And they have spill kits for all different size spills, 50 gallons, 5 gallons, depends on what you're looking for. I say it like this. If you've got a shop, if you've got a factory, if you've got a dealership, if you've got something industrial or business-oriented, and you have spills to clean, get Magic Dry at magicdryus.com. If you've got a cat and you got some kitties, then you want to get catspotlitter.com. It's made out of the same ingredients, the same parent company, and just great stuff. Big supporters of Scott Palmer and the sport of NHRA drag race. Scott Palmer, Ricky House, others, and WFO Radio in particular, magicdryus.com. Samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. A new factory stock podcast has dropped with Drew Skillman as the primary guest. Drew Skillman answering your questions. Samtech puts on Factory Stock Podcast, and we have already learned many of their graduates go on to work in factory stock or go to work at Boeing as a CNC machinist. One of the greatest things about Samtech is they help you get placed in a career somewhere down the road. Go to samtech.edu, check out the website. Of course, tell them if you heard about it on WFO Radio. Bottom line, it's a job you will love. It's a job you will love. Working with your hands, building, doing, making, machinist, motorsport EFI, all of those things, and they're a military-friendly school. That is samtech.edu. Also, HusseyPerformance.net. Copper head gaskets. David Allen and the team over at Hussey Performance, 724-318-8292. Quality copper head gaskets, the kind that champions use, like Sean Bellemere and the Bartone brothers. And, of course, Hankstafers Laboratories and Hankstafers Metalworking Lubricants. Go to hankstafers.com, 800-433-LUBE. Their job is to make your cutting process, your metalworking process, go faster and your tools last longer. Simple as that. And the folks at Hankstafers are on board with, all the major machine shops out there. For the most part, DSR, JFR, they use Hankstafers. You should too. And they support WFO Radio. And there you have it. The people that make the show possible. Big thanks to them. And now on with the show. We're going to hear from John Deflorian and Tii Tharpe and Dom Lagana. And, of course, Matt Hagan, Steve Torrence. But we're going to get started off right now. Joining us now, he is the voice of the NHRA and called the action out there at the New England Nationals. Alan Reinhart is back. Alan, welcome back.
Hey, Joe, great to be back. It was a heck of an event this past weekend.
Yes, it was. And race day always erases anything that happens. You lose a session, whatever the case is. We have a great race day, and everybody leaves happy. At least the fans that I talked to, they were fired up. They were happy walking out.
Yeah, I agree. I think the same thing. The weather certainly wasn't very friendly on Friday or Saturday. Sunday was much cooler, much more comfortable for the fans to sit out in the stands. And, we got the show hustling along, started early, making up for some of the stuff that we lost on Saturday with a little weather moving in Saturday afternoon. But it was a pretty good, clean hustle kind of bang, bang race day. And I think the fans appreciate that. When you come, you get to see a good race, you get to see a show, and it's over early enough in the afternoon that you can go have a nice dinner, have a nice evening, get ready to go back to work, especially when you're wrapping up a holiday weekend like this.
Absolutely. 4th of July weekend. It was great. Hopefully everybody had fun. And we're going to hear from Steve Torrence and Matt Hagan on the show. We're going to hear from John Deflorian, Tii Tharpe. Dom Lagana is going to be on to talk a little what it takes to run quarter mile, since they have done it pretty recently with his car on the match race circuit. Well, before we get into all of that, though, Alan, that's all good news stuff. Every once in a while something happens that kind of hits the entire NHRA community pretty hard. And we lost somebody this week that, I think pretty much friends with everybody I know out there. Bob Kuhar had been battling cancer, DHR, Drink Hard Racing Bob. When I came into the sport, immediately was friendly and cool and busting chops and just pointing me in the right direction for where the fun was. And, we lost him. He fought cancer very, very hard and admirably. But unfortunately, we lost Bob just, like hours ago. And so, I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. I know you were friends as well.
Yeah, I think your description of him was spot on. A guy that helped point you in the right direction to where the fun was. For anybody that doesn't know, everybody I think inside the community knew him. He wasn't a racer. He wasn't a crew chief. He wasn't, a crew guy and an official, any of that kind of stuff. But he was a larger-than-life, big, loud, fun guy. Lived life with just as robust as he possibly could. Enjoyed every minute, and was, never turned down a good excuse to have a party, start a party, or go to a party. And yeah, it's just a shame. He was, not very old. He's got pretty young children and feeling fine. And then one day not feeling fine, went to the doctor, and it was kind of way past anything. So, then I know it's kind of a struggle for him these last couple of months, but, it's just a shame. I mean, he was a really good guy that I don't think ever met a stranger, and always had a good time, and just gone way too soon.
Yeah, and that's it. Like I think about, meeting people, and I meet so many people, and here's a person that was, immediately, fun and just straightforward with, who they were and what they do and what they like. And, like I said, pointed me in the right direction where the fun was. And so, Bob, rest in peace, of course, and the drag racing community is hurting a little bit. And it is just an unfortunate deal. And what I would say to everybody out there, like to learn some sort of lesson from everything is like, hug your friends, hug your loved ones, spend some time, make that call that you haven't made, because you just never know.
Yeah, and, I hate to sound like I'm making light of it, but it almost seems right that the news of this should come out on Taco Tuesday.
So true.
So true. Anybody, beer and tacos was Bob's deal. And for anybody who's not sure what we're talking about, if you've ever seen a DHR, the Drink Hard logo diamond or hat or T-shirt, he was one of the driving forces behind that, and was just always having a good time and always, looking for the bright side of everything, and just, he always picked up a room or a group or whatever whenever he walked in, because he was just a 100% positive guy.
Yeah, to be able to, and I can say I got to hang in the Brainerd Zoo with Bob. And so, my party life is complete. I'm going to have some good times.
That's definitely the way to do it, no question about it. So I'm sure that there'll be a remembrance of him when we get back to the zoo later on this year, and I look forward to stopping by and visiting Paul and dropping in on that.
Absolutely.
It's funny. I'm sitting here looking at my shop. I can see DHR. I've got a DHR hat. I've got a sticker on my wall. I've got one of his cancer fighting decals on two of my cars in here, and he'll be a guy that won't be soon forgotten.
Absolutely not. We will not allow that to happen. But we will move forward, obviously, with that on our mind, and talk about the race. And we got the Western Swing right around the corner, and also this big quarter-mile discussion that I want to get your opinion on. But let's do the race debrief first, where Steve Torrence wins another one, and he's going off to the ESPYs. We're going to hear Steve. Hopefully he wins. Hopefully everyone continues to vote until the very last second that you can vote, just to rep Steve. But the performance, Alan, it continues to grow. The Capco team, what they're doing, their capabilities, their ability, winning races, 7th race win of the season, made 8 straight final rounds, having won from all these different qualifying positions, getting down the racetrack, getting through Austin Prock first round, just big moments, and Steve lives up to them always. So few times in NHRA history. Like, I'm going to throw out a couple, Snake winning the 7 of 8 dominance. Tony Schumacher a couple years ago when I guess he won 15 races. John Force has had domination like this, but it's rare to have this level of domination. And right now, Capco and Steve Torrence, they are doing it. It's a historic run right now.
The interesting thing I think about Steve, which sets him apart from some of the others that you mentioned, is they were all dominant from start to finish. How many number one qualifiers did Don Prudhomme have in that time when he was running the table? How many times was he a 10th or a 10th and a half in front of the field? John Force for a long time had a huge performance advantage. There've been a lot of comparisons between Tony Schumacher's 2-year run a couple of years back and the one that Steve's on right now, or 3-year run or whatever it is. And you look at the final round appearances are very close, the wins are very close, but the number one qualifiers and the low ETs are not. And Steve's team is doing it on Sunday by racing smart, by beating the person in the other lane, not necessarily by always going out and just having a dominant car. I mean, you look at this week, and I started off my winner's circle with Steve. I said, well, in qualifying, you sucked. And he laughed and said, absolutely. I mean, they never made it down the track in qualifying. Ended up, even though we had a short field, he was still 9th in qualifying. But on Sunday, by the time we got to race day, and it had cooled off and conditions had changed a little bit, but that helps everybody. They just, at that point, went, okay, we're in race mode. This is what we got to do to get it done. Let's go make it happen. And they did. And that, I think, is what sets the Capco guys in this string apart from everybody else. When Tony was doing it, he was number one qualifier regularly. He was low ET regularly. He had what looked to be a performance advantage on Friday, on Saturday, and on Sunday. And Steve has got a great car, but 8 final rounds this year. He's only qualified number one twice. And they're doing it by getting the job done on Sunday, not by having a car that's so dominant nobody can touch him. And I think that kind of sets them apart a little bit.
Let's spend a little more time going into this because you've got some information that I want to know what your opinion is on it. And all of those drivers we talked about, it was kind of in the era, and Tony probably also, where innovation was happening and encouraged and going on. And Steve is doing it in an era, I don't want to say innovation is discouraged, but certainly limited by the rules, right? With cylinder head evolution. Tony was doing it with Alan Johnson tuning and really involving stuff, inside the engine at that point. And Steve is doing it with, as you point out all the time, store-bought parts. What's interesting to me, though, is the model that they have created that I think is, I don't know if it's, known, appreciated. Certainly we're talking about it a little bit, but John Force decided he's going to go out and buy all these CNC machines and he's going to make his own parts to try to reduce his in-house cost. And then Don Schumacher decides, what we'll do is we'll create this machine shop and we'll sell parts to our own teams and we'll make money building the parts and fund the business that way. And Steve's doing it in a totally different way where he's buying parts and using them on a really short life cycle and then selling them used to Scott Palmer and Pat Dakin and Dom Lagana and all these other teams, Audrey Worm. They can buy good parts that are, let's say, barely used, slightly used parts, and run them in their cars. And thus, he's a one-car team that's elevating all these other teams that's running down the track on practically new parts almost every time down because they've come up with almost a new model. And, is that part of it?
It is part of it. I think it's a huge part of it. The fact that they don't have a machine shop. They don't manufacture anything in-house. Everything on the car is something that, a guy that wanted to start a team and had the budget to do could go out and buy. And now it's just a matter of, can you put them together right? Can you tune it right? Can you make the right decisions when it comes to firing up the car and sending it down the racetrack? But to put it in perspective, in regular life, I know people that buy a new car every 2 years or every 3 years. They never want to have maintenance issues. They never want to have problems. Basically, before the warranty's up, and it doesn't matter what the number is. Okay, let's say you buy a $20,000 car, you drive it for 2 years, you can trade it in. It's still got $15,000 worth of trade-in value or $14,000 worth of trade-in value, and you can buy another new car. You're constantly going to have a payment, but you're constantly going to have a new car, and you're never going to be the guy whose transmission goes out or has 200,000 miles on it. Now the rear end's junk, and you have to start having these big repairs. So you're going to have a constant spending cycle, but it's going to be a fairly consistent spending cycle because you're trading in your cars while they still have a lot of value, and you always have the newest, as opposed to some people that will buy a car and drive it for 10 years. And then, you know what, once you can't fix it anymore, it's got 250,000 miles on it. Okay, now it's time to go make the investment and do it again. And what Steve is doing is the first plan. They're buying parts, they're recycling them very short, as you said, and then they're selling them, and there's still a lot of life left in them. And I think most casual fans also don't realize that the difference between, and we're talking about when the track's in great shape, conditions are great, and you're going for records, okay? The difference between running 365 and 380 in a top fuel car isn't a little bit. It's a ton. And so if you're trying to run 370, 365 all the time, you want to have brand new, fresh parts on the car as often as possible. And some of the other teams you're talking about, and I'm not in any way, shape, or form slamming them, but Pat Dakin's not going out there trying to run 365. How many times have you talked to them, right? We're trying to run a 75. We're trying to run a 78. We just want to put it safely in the show, and then we'll come back and we'll be ready to go. So they're not straining the parts anywhere near as hard as Steve is. And the parts that they're getting from Steve are, it's not like, okay, I got to put this thing together with used, wore-out junk. They are good, solid parts that are serving the purpose perfectly for what they are suited for on one of the other teams. So, yeah, they're certainly helping a lot of the other teams stay out there, stay in business, and not have to spend as much money. And they've got always new, shiny stuff on their car, and it shows. But, you know, always new isn't a guarantee of anything. And, again, anybody that's ever, you know, you buy a new car every year, you know, once in a while you get one that, okay, the transmission has to be replaced under warranty. And when that happens to Steve, it's things like the broken crankshaft in the final at Bristol, which probably cost him the race. You know, it's still, who knows what would have happened, but Steve's car was out in front at the 8th mile. The crankshaft broke before the finish line, and he lost the race. And it wasn't because it had 50 runs on it. It's just one of those deals, but that's the cost of doing business.
Cost of doing business. Steve runs Scott Palmer in the final round. Scott with a sportsmanship moment in the semis as Clay Millican had some problems on the front of the engine, and they had to kind of, quote-unquote, rig a bracket. Kind of, I don't know if you followed up on that. Bottom line, it was a little bit of a dramatic thrash moment for Clay Millican and that team. Another semifinal for them as well. Palmer earlier in the race had a fuel line rupture, got a nitro shower, which was kind of a scary and crazy moment. You identified that real quick on the mic. Bottom line, though, Palmer goes to the final round, comes up a little bit short, but a good day for Palmer in points. He says they're going for trophies now. They're going to try to be real aggressive. But, you know, when you get a Palmer-Capco final round, that's always entertaining.
I just think it's funny that, 3 of the last 4 finals, or maybe it's 2 of the last 3 finals, if Steve Torrence hadn't been the guy in the other lane, he would have been rooting for the guy he was racing.
Absolutely.
I mean, he made no bones about it. He would love for Pat Dakin to have won the race, except he was racing Pat Dakin. And he would love for Scott Palmer to win a race, unless he's the victim. He doesn't want to be the victim for anybody. But, you know, there's a pretty fair, pretty even performance field out there right now. And, again, that's what makes what Torrence is doing so impressive, is the fact that with all these cars that are as closely matched as they are and as equal as they are, they keep making the right choices. I also thought it was interesting, and I don't know if you caught this, but I believe there were 7 runs made by Torrence this weekend. And if I'm not mistaken, 4 times in the 7 runs, Richard Hogan was making adjustments to the clutch timers after the burnout.
Yes. Yeah, that's unusual.
Yeah, I mean, it's all but unheard of. You know, Alan Johnson always makes his final adjustment just before they start the car. But Hogan literally, after the car backed up from the burnout, and it might have been more than 4, but it became so regular that I even stopped pointing it out, that he would go over when the car backed up after the burnout, pop open the little hatch where the timers and the flow valves are, and make a final adjustment after the burnout. And I'm telling you, that is taking it as far down to the wire as you can, making a last-moment decision, and he keeps making the right one time after time. Pretty impressive stuff.
479-point lead over Doug Coletta. Steve Torrence has clinched a spot in the countdown. I don't know if this is the earliest anyone has ever clinched in the countdown era. Maybe you do. Certainly feels true, and just amazing stuff. I really hope he wins this ESPY award. I know it's a really, you know, there are people who hate the ESPYs, Alan. Silly, you know, ESPN thing, whatever. But with the effort that has been put in, the performance that they have put up, I think the right person to win it. Certainly with the NHRA community voting out of control, most racers are all behind this. I hope he gets it. Having clinched the countdown this early, just amazing stuff.
You're right. And, I've talked to a couple of people, and I'm sure you have too, that, you know what, I don't really like Torrence, but I'm voting for NHRA. I'm not voting for Torrence. I'm voting for NHRA. And I think he's kind of, pulled the community together in that. You don't have to be a Steve Torrence fan to be voting for NHRA. And I think, whether you're a fan or not, I'm not a huge Jimmy Johnson fan. I don't know the guy. He might be the nicest guy in the world. But when I'm watching stock car racing, I'm, as a rule, not rooting for Jimmy Johnson. I have a tremendous amount of respect for what he's accomplished. And if he was in a contest like this, I certainly would vote for him because of the amount of respect I have for him. Not because I'm a fan, not because he's my guy, not because I love him, just because I think you have to look at the accomplishment. And there's no way anybody can look at that and go, he doesn't deserve it, because he damn sure does.
Absolutely. Simple as that. Now,
and I actually love Jimmy Johnson.
Do you really? What's not to love? He's he's just kind of a vanilla. He's got he's not Rocky Road ice cream if we're comparing him to ice cream, but he's not an evil guy by any means.
I like Jimmy.
Yeah, there you go. All right, funny car. Matt Hagan, dominance, New England Dragway, 3 in a row. What's up with that?
I think he's just going to buy property up in New England, and there's got to be times in Virginia when you'd like to just get away and go someplace else. New England would be a good place for him.
Yes.
And again, how many times have we talked about this over the years? Some guys they go to this track and it's like, man, it's my happy place for whatever reason. For all those years with Schumacher, it was Indy, which is a pretty nice happy place. But no, Hagan, and Hagan has not had a great car over the course of the last couple of 3 races. He also, Dickie Venables said, I believe he told you that he'd been getting some help from Tasca's guys.
Yes.
Tasca's guys are not a Don Schumacher car per se, but they do buy parts, and they do have a technical alliance, and they are part of the information sharing community over there. And those guys are very open with, we'll help whoever needs help until Sunday. Because when it comes to Sunday, my job's to win the race, and you're just in my way. But, there's a lot of camaraderie over there, and we all know what Tasca's been doing the last couple of weeks. His string finally came to an end at 10 straight round wins. But, the place is just Matt Hagan likes the place, and the place likes Matt Hagan for whatever reason.
That is a fact, and had to go through his teammates. Jack Beckman, first round, gets loaded up with that 395. Caps, second round. Caps got a little out of the groove and had to lift. I don't know if he was going to be able to best that 399. I feel like he was behind at the point. Then, you mentioned it. Yeah, Dickie said it was ironic that they had to beat Tasca because Tasca and Neff was helping him out so much. And then the final round, Sean Langdon, who kind of got into a mini dust-up with Cruz Pedregon. I feel like that's kind of a momentary dust-up. I don't know if that's going to extend beyond this given weekend. But Langdon doing himself a lot of good, holding on to that 10th spot, but comes up short against Hagan, and Hagan wins the race.
Yeah, Langdon needed a get-healthy weekend. Sitting 10th in the points, even though I don't want to say he had a comfortable margin, but he had a few rounds. You never feel really good when you are the bubble guy, whether you're 16 going into the last qualifying session or whether you're 10. They've had a decent car, and they ended up having a pretty good Sunday, and I think everybody felt a little better on that. Just dumb luck, ran into Del Worsham checking into the airport hotel on Sunday night, and we chit-chatted a little bit, and he said they're pretty happy with the car right now. They just have been really close, and they feel like now they might have put the last ingredient in that's going to help them to be more consistent, because Sean Langdon has had a quick race car on occasion, but it hasn't been as consistent as they needed it. And Del Worsham, the co-crew chief on the car, feels like that they made a step this weekend that's going to help them as we head out to the Western Swing.
Kind of a nightmare for Cruz, but not really. Like, I want your opinion about this. Like, I loved the back and forth because whatever. It's just two guys jawing at each other, right? Like in a basketball game. Like, guys talking, it means nothing. But Sean goes on and gets to the final round, and Cruz gets eliminated second round, so he falls a little further behind. But I like that kind of competition. Well, yeah, they were talking, and then some names flew, but it was no big deal at all. And I think a lot of people were interested in it. Like, oh, who said what? What did they say? Let's watch the video. Oh, whose side are you on? What do you think? Like, that stuff is good for the sport. Guys jawing at each other. And we need a little more of it. Like, Austin Prock and Steve Torrence, when Austin said that Steve had needed his Depends underwear. Like, just fun stuff. The Langdon Cruz deal was a little more serious, but not angry, really. I felt like it was just good stuff.
Yeah, I think Cruz and Sean is well beyond Austin poking a little fun at Steve, because we all know that those guys get along well and like each other. The best thing I think that came out of Cruz and Sean is this. The next time they line up side by side, everybody in the grandstand is going to be rooting for somebody.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
You know, I'm certainly not slamming anybody, but as a general rule, if Ron Capps is racing Tommy Johnson, for instance, if you're a Don Schumacher fan, okay, you're happy that one of your cars is going on. If you're a Ron Capps fan, you want him to win. If you're a Tommy Johnson fan, but a casual fan isn't sitting in the grandstands going, okay, I want this guy to kick his tail. It's just, you know, show me a good race, show me an exciting race, show me something that is fun, whether it's a pedal fest, whether it's a whatever. But the next time Sean and Cruz match up, everybody in the grandstand is going to be pulling for somebody, and that's important. You need to have rivalries. If you didn't have rivalries, then you know I think you lose a lot in the sport. And I'm fine with it. I look forward to the next time those two guys pull up next to each other, because believe me, it's not going to be just another race for me to call either.
Absolutely. Mountain Motor Pro Stock, John Deflorian, going to be on the show. We're going to hear from John. Won 2 races. Nobody else won 2. So in my mind, that makes him like the Mountain Motor champion of this season. Tii Tharpe won 3 races in a row. We're going to try to connect with Tii as well in Mickey Thompson Top Fuel Harley. Ken Moses doubles up in Super Comp and Top Dragster, a rare feat. Got on a roll and won them both. That's great stuff. Dave Miller, who raced Pro Stock with us a few races ago, got a Top Sportsman win, his first win. So the Pro Stock experience, he said, helped him out, and he went out there and saw it real well and won the race. Brian Sawyer, 3 national events, has won 2 out of 3 and made the final in all 3 in Super Street. That's just crazy. Iggy Boychesko, Dean Cook, Byron Warner, the remaining winners in the Lucas Oil Series.
I like Dean Cook. I think he was a big story. You know, it's his second national event win. His first one just 36 years ago. And, you know, the fact that the guy has been, and by the way, that was his last final round also, was 36 years ago. And the fact that, you know, the guy comes out, he races because he loves it, because of friends and family. His son also races. He actually had to beat his son in a head-to-head matchup earlier on in the weekend. And a guy that's just out there, you know, kind of enjoying the camaraderie of everything. And his numbers happen to come up this weekend. The fact that he's driving a 4-speed Ford Mustang, you know, that earns him a little more credit with me too. But I just think that that's a terrific story. That, you know, the guy's last final round was 36 years ago, but he's still out here dropping the clutch, having fun, letting it fly, and it paid off again. So he finally got the other bookend. And
he found a 4-leaf clover coming into the event, and it clearly worked.
He told you that down on the return road. That was a riot.
Yeah, I never realized that 4-leaf clover thing was actually true.
It is if you believe it.
Well, I guess so. All right, let me ask you now about this quarter mile. You know, it's a rumor, but it's not a rumor because it was on the broadcast. So I like to call things like this, you know, floating a trial balloon, right? See what people think and react. And the pits were abuzz. People were talking about it. I saw social media. You know, I saw Mike English on there, like quarter mile, that kind of stuff. From what I understand, it would be at limited race facilities that can accommodate it. Maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3. I don't know. It's still very early on, but when it's on our broadcast, it's worth talking about. So I'm going to ask Steve. I'm going to ask Matt Hagan. Got Dominic Lagana on because, you know, Dom, they run quarter mile with their match race car. Like, what goes into it? What will it take? How many parts, pieces? What do you do differently? These kind of things. What will the challenges be? I'm not going to ask Dom for his opinion necessarily, but what do you make of all of this, Alan, since your experience goes way back prior to the 1,000-foot era? You lived through the big reason for the 1,000-foot era, and now we're 10 years into the 1,000-foot era for this to come back the way it has.
I'm all for having the discussion, and then let's see where it leads. I think that, you know, getting smart people in a room and having them throw ideas around is a good thing, no matter what business you're in, no matter what decision you're trying to make. I'm all for having the discussion. As far as, you know, can it be implemented? I guess we'll have to wait and see. I think, you know, one of the things I saw on a social media thing was, this is going to be awesome. How long before we see 350 miles an hour? And it's like, time out, guys. You're not going to see 350 miles an hour. That's not what we're trying to do here. So in order to keep the performance of the cars in a safe zone, and I use that, you know, I'm doing air quotes when I say that, they're going to have to be limited on top end speed. And what's going to be the way to do that? How can that be done without, you know, the teams having to do a lot of engineering, spend a lot of money, do a lot of testing, I don't know the answer to that question, but I'm all for the discussion, and I sincerely hope that I get invited to some of the discussion groups because, as you said, I've been out here a long time. I don't claim to be a crew chief, but there can't be a whole lot of guys that have had more talks with crew chiefs over the years than I have, and I'd like to hear the ideas and maybe even throw my 2 cents in. So I have the sanctioning body because that's where it came from. It started with NHRA with a what if. Is this possible? Is this something we should look into? And the answer came back, it's certainly a discussion we should have, and we'll see where it goes. But, the fact that they're talking about it, I think is very progressive, and I think that's a huge positive. We'll just have to see if it's feasible, if it can be done, if the teams feel like it can be done, and where it goes from there. I'm looking forward to the continuing discussion.
Absolutely, and I think that's a great way to say it as well, because there's no harm in going down a road with a thought experiment and gaming it all out and then making a call at the end of it. Like, what will it take? How much will it cost? Who will it help? Who will improve? Are there 5,000 fans per market that are staying home because they want to see quarter-mile racing? Are there 200,000 people out there that would be watching the show if the races were a quarter of a mile instead of 1,000 feet? Like, it's interesting to think about, like, the benefits versus the cost-benefit analysis, of course. I'm all for it. I'm going to ask our guests on the show what they think. And, Dom, they do that. They match race to 1320, and he does this. And so he's going to come on and just kind of lay out what it takes and what they do and, keep opinions out of it, just facts.
And I look forward to hearing that. And that's one of the discussions I've had with a couple of guys on some of the social media stuff that I do is, well, years ago they said you could do this, and years ago they said you could do that, and years ago they tried this. And there was a lot of experimentation going on. Dale Armstrong's one was one that keeps coming up over and over and over again. When he was working for the Snake, the Miller Lite car with Larry Dixon driving, and they were down in Dallas, and they tested a low compression, low overdrive deal on Monday, and they made 3 runs. And they made 3 runs that were all about 480 something, I think between 304 and 307 on the speed, and never heard apart. They just had the car set basically on ginger and sent it down the racetrack and never so much as snugged a ring in the piston. And there are a lot of people that still latch onto that and go, that's the plan. They should have done that years ago. They could still do that today. That's what you have to do. But what most people, I think, don't realize is everybody can go out there with a top fuel car right now, everybody, and run 390 at 315 miles an hour. And you can extrapolate that into quarter mile terms, 480, 315 miles an hour. Everybody can do that. But that's not racing. Now, when I can go out and do that, let's say I go out and do that 10 times in a row driving Antron Brown's car. Okay, I got my combination all fixed. Okay, now you have to beat Steve Torrence. Now what are you going to do? Well, I'm damn sure not going to go out there and try to run 480 at 315 miles an hour. I'm going to go out there and start leaning on it. And, testing and racing are 2 different things. And one thing I think you have to be real careful of when you get into this, and I think that's part of what the discussion is the classic unintended consequences. If we do this, what about this and this and this that might happen as a byproduct of that? And I think that that's something that they want to make sure that everything has been discussed and kicked around before a final decision is made. But again, I'm all for having a discussion. Let's talk about it. And if there's a way to do it where it makes the fans happy, you don't have to water the performance down of the cars to the fact that they just don't seem like what they used to be anymore. And if there are enough fans out there that are really that passionate about it, then we should definitely be talking about it.
There you have it. Alan, great job. I had a good time out there with you. 4th of July weekend, New England. The fans are also nice up there, very friendly, very happy that we showed up. Sunday race day. We did have short fields, but it almost didn't matter. I mean, we lost a couple of, actual races, but there was drama. And that's what you want. You want drama. You want competition. We had it all. They all had fun. I had fun. It was a good time. And next up, the Western Swing. Here we go. Denver, Sonoma, Seattle. And that brings us to the brink of Brainerd, which means Indy, which means countdown. It all gets serious starting right now.
You left out Woodburn.
Oh, yeah? I did.
I'm going to the regional event in Woodburn this weekend. So if there's anybody out there in Oregon or that part of the world that wants to come by and see some of the great Lucas Oil racing, come on out. They've got at least the last 2 years I've been there, they've had a really strong contingent of both alcohol funny cars and alcohol dragsters. And of course, all the Division 6 racers will be out there in force. Great facility. It's a fun event. Come on out and check it out.
Oh, I know the Northwest Nitro fanatics will be out there. That is for sure. Alan, great job. Thank you so much.
All right, Joe, you take care, and I'll see you in Denver.
Thanks, Alan. There he goes, the voice of the NHRA. Alan Reinhart joins us each week right here at the very start of WFO Radio Podcast, NHRA Nitro, and greatly appreciate it. All kinds of great conversation there. Do want to mention, Bob Kuhar, like all over Facebook today, just terrible. In my time, I will address this a little bit more at the tail end of the show. But in short, we put the show together on Tuesday. You guys get it either Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, and it's evergreen throughout the rest of the week. People listen to WFO. People say, what time is it on? No, it's always on as a podcast. And it's Tuesday. And I'm going to Taco Tuesday it up in the name of Kuhar. Just, what can you say? Horrible deal, but fought like hell. And that's what he said he would do, and he did. And what can you say? I don't even know. We'll talk about it later on in the show, though, because I got a story I want to share that hopefully motivates some people. But when we come back, it's going to be Steve Torrence, followed by Matt Hagan, Dom Lagana, and John Deflorian and Tii Tharpe. And we're going to talk with Dom about quarter-mile drag racing. We're going to ask Steve and Matt what they think about quarter-mile drag racing. I will ask for some opinions out there. We're back doing this again. But we'll do that a little bit later. Steve will be up next. Right now, I want to tell you about samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Accelerate your career as a high-performance engine builder with classroom instruction and practical hands-on experience. In the lab, on the dyno, and at the track, Samtech now offers blockhead and CNC programs, also motorsport EFI tuning, and an associate of applied science degree. SAM is a military-friendly school, which means they are approved to train veterans and other eligible persons under the GI Bill. If that's you, go to samtech.edu today. And every single race, I am proud of the sponsors of WFO. And we have select sponsors, things that are good and positive and helpful and fun, whether it be Marvin and the grilling and the spice rubs, or Frank Hawley with the Fun Dragster Adventure, whether it be, Hussey Gaskets or Hank Stiffer's Metalworking Lubricants, or all the people who have supported the show over the years, like Motorsports Guys, the people who have supported the show. All the sponsors that you hear are here for positive and good reasons. But I can't think of too many reasons better than young people pursuing a career and an education in CNC machining or engine machining or motorsport EFI, or someone who loves cars in the automotive hobby to decide they want to dive in a little bit deeper. I can't. 713-683-3817. That's the phone number. Give them a call. Brian Massengill, the Massengill family. Tell them you heard about it on WFO Radio, that you're interested in learning more about the school. They're down there in the Houston, Texas area. I have been to the campus, but since they have remodeled, and it has been made bigger because they're doing very, very well. But the proof is in the pudding. You go out to the track and you ask around, and a lot of the teams, a lot of the engine shops, a lot of the people have Sam Tech graduates because they are connected and they're really good at what they do. Samtech.edu. Start your education at full speed. Go check it out. And all you young people out there, just remember this. Just remember, life is obviously short. By the time you're 20 and you're supposed to be thinking about what you want to do, you've got really 45 years. It's not that much. You should get to doing something that you love, that can provide you a good living, that also is something that you're passionate about. And all these engine machinist guys that I run into on a regular basis, they seem pretty happy when they go to work, my opinion. Check them out, samtech.edu. When we come back, it's going to be Steve Torrence talking about his 8th consecutive final round win, 7th win of the season, taking down Scott Palmer in the final round, but also the ESPY Awards. And hopefully he wins it. Regardless, the NHRA community has been united around drag racing. We'll talk with Steve about it when we come back.
This is WFO Radio.
Hussey Performance Copperhead Gaskets. Do you make big power? That's the question. Hussey Performance specializes in quality copper gaskets to your exact specs. Any bore, any size and thickness. From 500 cubic inch nitro burning Hemis to turbocharged Pro Mods to Honda engines or even big tractors, Hussey Performance makes the gaskets. If you're a racer, you're thinking about, well, how long does this take? Typically less than a week. They want to help you make the race. Next day shipping is also available. What to do? You got to call David directly, 724-318-8292, or go to husseyperformance.net. And one more thing, it's all made in America, including the machines they use. That is huge. 724-318-8292, Hussey Performance, copper head gaskets for you engine builders out there. These guys are supporting WFO. Check them out. It is husseyperformance.net.
Get fired up on the WFO line.
WFO, Joe.
954-889-6796.
It's been an absolute joy to be a drag racing fan.
Go wide open, and your call may be used on the show.
Or preface by saying I'm not a Kurt Busch fan or apologist. I don't know where Greg Anderson's ego is gone, but I know one person that's going to be a big-time villain in pro stock.
That's 954-889-6796. That phone line is always WFO.
Drag Racing Edge. That's the magazine. Subscribe online. Get the issues, $24.95. Keep up with your favorite sport, whether it be NHRA Mellow Yellow, Lucas Oil Series action. They cover drag radial. They cover it all. Drag Racing Edge magazine.
Subscribe to WFO Radio on iTunes. Never miss a show. And don't forget to write a review. WFO.
Now back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
Welcome back to NHRA Nitro. Steve Torrence coming up just seconds from now. Matt Hagan later on in the show, and others. John Deflorian, Tii Tharpe, Tom Lagana. But right now I want to tell you about Magic Dry. Scott Palmer in the final round. How about the sportsmanship with Clay Millican? I would not have expected anything else. Scott, when he wins a race, he doesn't want to back into it. He wants to win it, and that is so great. And it's all thanks to the folks at MagicDryUS.com, because listeners like you call 833-221-2257 and order a spill kit. And they've got spill kits for 5-gallon, 10-gallon, 20-gallon, 50-gallon. And if you have a request, they can make a specified spill kit. Magic Dry is made out of coconut husk, the same stuff that cat spot litter is made out of. It absorbs 560% of its weight in liquid. That's more per pound than anything on the market. And it handles the viscosity of any liquid. For that reason, it is the official organic absorbent of the National Hot Rod Association. They have dived into the sport of drag racing like few other companies, supporting Scott Palmer and Ricky House and others in connection and relationship, plus a couple of races. Arizona, the Magic Dry Nationals, and you head up to the Northwest Nationals, it's Cat Spot Litter. And Tommy Thompson and the team doing a great job. We always say that drag racing fans are the most devoted when it comes to supporting sponsors. Well, you got to shop. You work at a car dealership, you work on an oil rig, you work in a factory, and you have to clean spills every once in a while, go to MagicDryUS.com and get on the program. Not only do they support drag racing, but it is actually a better product and made in the USA. If you've got a cat, get CatSpotLitter.com. And if you've got a factory, go to MagicDryUS.com. They are keeping Scott Palmer on the track and giving him a real good chance to go out and win some races. He's in the top 10. And he raced in the final round against our next guest. Joining us now, the top fuel winner from most of the races this season, including the most recent out there, the New England Nationals. He is back, Steve Torrence. What's up, Steve?
What's up, Joe? Glad to be back, man.
Well, you're earning it. That is for sure. And this has happened a couple of times in the history of WFO radio. You know, we've been doing this for 10 years, and prior to that, we were on satellite radio. And I remember when Tony Schumacher won those, 15 races that year, we really got to know him. Like, as a person, we got to know him because he was on so much. That's what's happening with you now over the past couple of seasons. If you don't know the kind of person Steve Torrence is after a season or two like this, you're not paying attention. Another great race for you and your team.
Yeah, unbelievable. I cannot express enough that it's not me. I mean, I'm just the guy sitting in there mashing the gas and trying to drive straight. It's completely Richard Hogan, Bobby Lagana, every one of those boys. And I mean, they all do their job, but I'll tell you, Hoagie earned his keep this weekend. We struggled in qualifying, but came out and put on a show on Sunday.
The idea that you guys have won races from first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and ninth qualifying position, like that's a great stat. It shows that whatever's happening in qualifying, maybe it's strategic as opposed to just going out there and trying to run as quick as possible every time. When it comes to race day, you guys can get it done.
Yeah, he's really good at well, him and Bobby both are really good at reading the track and making the calls to just, race your own race and do what it takes to go out there and race that lane. If you got lane choice, you can try to push it a little more. If you don't have lane choice and you're in, if one lane's better than the other, you still got to race that lane and race smart. And I think that's where Richard really prevails.
Absolutely. And it's funny because after every race, he's always making his check-in call to Big Daddy Don Garlits. And that's the thing that I just love as a fan of Garlits, to know that, Spawn of Garlits is still dominating the sport along with you guys. That's really a good thing for our sport.
It is. And I mean, it just shows the roots that we go back to. And when I was a kid growing up and you look at these guys and Big Daddy Don Garlits is the man. I mean, he's the guy that's done everything and pioneered everything. And to think that I've been able to become friends with Big and Hogan is a really close friend of mine, not only my crew chief, but just a good dear friend. And the relationships that I've been able to establish and develop through racing with some of the legends of the sports, it's been kind of humbling to look at it if you think about it.
Well, you're carving out your own spot, and I want everybody to know you're getting ready to head out to the ESPY Awards, from what I understand. The NHRA, I want to ask you about a couple of round-by-rounds and a quick question about this quarter-mile thing that has popped up this weekend, kind of out of nowhere for me. But first, let's talk about the whole NHRA community rallying behind you. There has not been one person that I have spoken with that is, into the sport, knowledgeable about the sport, who hasn't tried in their own way to make sure that you and through you, drag racing is represented at this awards show.
It's been pretty amazing to see all the support, from the fans, and really from fellow drivers and other race teams that have rallied behind me. And I've talked to a lot of the guys out there, the guys and girls out there, and it's not a Steve Torrence deal. I mean, this is more so an NHRA thing where we try to get some recognition for drag racing. I mean, you're going up against Lewis Hamilton and Scott Dixon and Kyle Busch. I mean, great representatives from each of the other forms of motorsports, and those guys win it a bunch. We've yet to win one for NHRA, and I think that it's just a battle cry for us and for everybody to really try to push NHRA to the front. And I've said it time and time again, and I see some comments on Facebook and social media where people are like, well, I don't like that guy because of his interview in 2017. And I mean, it is what it is. If you don't like me, don't like me. And if you're still holding on to something from a couple of years ago, then you probably are still mad about something that happened in your childhood too. So, I mean, I can't change that, but ultimately it ain't about me. And I mean, and I'm hoping, and I'm actually seeing that a lot of people are seeing past that and saying, hey, this is more about drag racing as a whole and NHRA, and let's push this guy to the front and see if we can get some more recognition, because I think that it's something that would really benefit our whole community and be a great thing. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm the poster child for drag racing. I'm just the guy that has an opportunity right now to kind of push it forward, and I'm excited about it. It's a really unique and fun experience, and I'm looking forward to it. But like I said, from the start of this, it's been very humbling to see the support and all the guys that have rallied, guys and girls that have rallied behind us.
You are the poster child for drag. Well, not poster child, so to speak, but you are the face of drag racing. You and JR, the champs, wearing the colors wherever you go, and in motorsports and in sports in general. You're our representative. You were perfect last year. You were 11 for 11. You swept the playoffs. Those are all big. You're dominating this year. Those are all huge things that anybody that competes in any sport can appreciate, whether it be baseball, football, basketball, soccer, whatever. Hey, his team was perfect in the playoffs, and it had never been done before. I think you should represent us greatly, and most importantly, I hope you guys have fun, whatever it is. Like, go enjoy it and report back.
Yeah, and I'm excited about it. Sometimes these kind of things are really not my forte, and believe it or not, I'm not real good, and I don't like to be in big crowded areas with a lot of people. I mean, exactly the opposite of what the drag races are, but I'm comfortable there at the racetrack. But most of these occasions and these events, I'm not real comfortable doing, so I tend to shy away from them. But I've just kind of taken a step back and looked at some of the opportunities and things that we've been able to do as a team, and experiences that I get to have, and then the team and all of us get to have together. And you kind of just look at this as, I mean, I'm nominated for an ESPY. I didn't really know what it was before. I know exactly what it is now, and it's being recognized by your peers and your fans and everybody for a big achievement. And it's an experience that I'll get to carry on, or remember for the rest of my life. So I think that sometimes you just look over things that you're not that excited about and look at the good part of them. And now I'm pretty pumped about going. I think it's awesome, and it'll be a really cool thing. I'm excited to talk to you again and tell you all about it.
Yeah, well, I have a feeling that's going to happen multiple times over the course of the year, certainly after some more race wins. Let's talk about, let's do a quick over the round by round. I was so excited, you and Austin, first round, because I love the way Austin Prock can talk smack and jaw back and forth with you guys, you in particular, and it's obviously fun. Like, there's no worry that someone is ruffling a feather, and you guys have been able to do it so flawlessly, so everybody understands, man, respect and fun, and then you go out and race. Not all other drivers have mastered that. You and Austin get along great, obviously.
It's funny, it's comical to me. I see a lot of myself in Austin as far as just the snide comments and the quick-witted humor, and just talking a little trash, but really not meaning any harm by it. And I completely understand him. I mean, I guess he's kind of a kid. He's not that much younger than me, but I'm a good bit older than him in some ways. I'm 36 and he's 21 or 2 years old, I think. I mean, he's pretty young, but he's a really nice, very respectful young man. And I enjoy his humor. I enjoy getting to go back and forth with him, and at the end of the day, there is a mutual respect there. He's come out and definitely showed that he's good. I mean, he drives well. He's learning. He's new to this, but he does a really good job driving the car, and he's already solidified himself as a good leaver. So going up there first round, we talked a little trash up on the stage, and he told me something about I was going to have some depends, and I told him he had the easy part done by talking trash. So we went up there, and I knew that the kid was going to be on the tree. I pay attention to him. Sometimes he rolls it in a little bit, and I just was ready for him. And we played a little games there, and he didn't want to stage, and I wasn't going to stage, so he ended up staging first, and I come in right behind him, and I think we were both 56 or 58 on the tree. I
58.
mean, whatever we were with this. Yeah, we were the same. And I knew that he'd be there, and I just was up there doing my job. And Hoagie, I'm telling you, Hoagie had that thing on just mean. It runs down through there, and I could hear him for a little ways, and then I thought he either smoked the tires or we were pulling away. And I look up as I go through the finish line and throw the chute, step off, I look up and I see the 75, and I just started laughing to myself, and I'm like, dadgum, man. You go up here and you think that you're just going to go high 70, low 80, and just be right in the middle of everything. And you go 75 at 328 and set low ET and top speed of the race in round one. And we have not been down the track 3 of the 3 qualifying sessions. So just goes to show the confidence and what Hoagie does. I mean, he's bad.
He is bad. Yeah, low ET, top speed right there. That was our marquee matchup, and you came out on top, making it all worth it. Like that, you guys delivered a great race, probably the best race of the first round. Then you move on to Terry McMillan, who has been struggling, but they found a little something first round, but then lost it again in the second round, which set up a battle against Richie Crampton. You guys get down the racetrack. That's what everybody says. You get down the track, and you drive well. You get down the track. That's tough to beat.
It really is. And I mean, it's I say it over and over. It's those guys. I mean, they make the right calls, and they just, when you race a car like my car right now and our car that goes down 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 times, then it really puts the pressure on those other guys. I mean, I do okay on the tree and go up there and drive the car, but it's going to go down. And so you know that you gotta be there with it to win or have a chance. And I mean, it's, I'm not being overconfident in ourselves, but I'm just saying, I mean, that thing, you go up there, it really, I don't know the last time we smoked the tires 3 times in a row or ever. I mean, it's been so long ago that I can't really remember it. And so you think, well, do I get worried, or do I just think eventually he's going to get this figured out and we'll be good? And so going in Sunday morning, I was pretty calm and relaxed and said, "Oh, Hoagie, he'll figure it out." I know he bailed out of here early when they called it on Saturday and went back to the hotel, and that's when he does all of his just alone time thinking. And I know he scoured over all that run data that we had, and I talked to him when I got back to the hotel Saturday, and he felt pretty confident that he had a handle on it. So makes you rest a little easier going into race day when your crew chief tells you that.
Oh, I can imagine. And if you're the competition, what do, right? You got a team that can uncork you got a driver that's going to leave on time, probably ahead. You got a team that's going to go down the track that is capable of setting low ET at any time. Like, what do you set up for? I'm sure Mike Green in Austin, for instance, 84.3, second low of first round. Yeah, see you later. Very tough deal. Let's talk about the final, though. You have this very interesting situation where, no one is rooting for you in the final round again, right? Like, here's Scott Palmer has got a shot. The same Pat Dakin deal, like these great underdog stories, but you have to deliver. You are the bar. They've got to beat you. You're the guy at the top of the pyramid at the end of the video game that they got to beat in the final fight, and it's fun to watch. Everybody is rooting for Palmer at some point to take the Magic Dry car, which is affiliated with you guys, into the winner's circle. But no one lets anybody do anything, and you guys uncorked an 86-1, you're 050, and you won the race again.
Brother, I was rooting for Scott Palmer. I mean, I was right there with everybody, and I mean, it's pretty cool. I got an email from Pat Dakin yesterday morning, and it said, "Man, you keep beating up on all your drinking buddies." And I said, "Yeah, that's true, but at least me and my drinking buddies are beating up on everybody else. How about that?"
Very good.
He wrote back and goes, and he was like, "Touche, good point."
That is a great point.
Yeah, we had a real good time, and I mean that it's a fun deal. I mean, just to be able to go out there and have the success and be able to share it with your friends.
Well, completely agree. I think that it's also interesting that, they're running well because you guys are helping them. And Scott's the first person to say that, right? You mentioned your drinking buddies, but you guys have got a formula over there with the Capco team that, you run some parts, you sell the parts used to these other teams. They are happy to get their hands on the parts. They run the parts, and everybody around you has been elevated. Dom Lagana going rounds, Scott Palmer going rounds, other teams, Audrey and John Worm, very thankful that, parts are coming to them that they can afford, that they can run here and there. And that is an interesting model. It's a little different than some of the other super teams out there. It's clearly working.
Yeah, and I mean, it's something that we've set up a life cycle on our parts and pieces, and they're still good, but we'll use them this span, we'll sell them for this much, and we know that we have a constant market to replace those. And so it's a win-win situation for us, being that we're able to keep new parts in us for a portion of the cost of new, and keep some of these other teams in really good parts for a portion of the cost of new. And it took us a couple years to get to that point where we were able to do that. But now, I mean, it's just a waterfall effect where we're able to roll those parts through. And I think it's, at the end of the day, it's good for everybody. I mean, it keeps us going. It keeps Alan Johnson selling more parts. We're selling parts to some of these other race teams that are having better stuff than what they could, go get at some other place. So Dakin's bought a bunch of parts from us, Palmer, Dom, these guys do, Audrey. When Clay Milliken started, I mean, he came over, they bought everything from us, car, parts, pieces, rear ends, everything. So it's, I think it's a good deal for everybody.
I think it's a smart business move. I think it shows the business person in your team, because you've found a way to help yourself and help everybody. And, it's a system. It's very interesting. I hope people understand it. All right, let's move on. You've clinched in the countdown. You've clinched in the countdown already, Steve. Like, that is incredible. You got a 479-point lead, but you've already clinched in the countdown. I don't expect you to go into total test mode or anything, but that is pretty impressive.
Honestly, it's just crazy. I don't know if it's ever even been done this early, or, I mean, it makes you kind of think, well, crap, all these points are going to go away. But when you look at it, you're like, well, I mean, we're going racing. We're keeping the guys really just, you can I can relate this to roping. I mean, if you get on a hot streak, you got to keep going. I mean, it's like sportsman racing or whatever it is. When you're rolling, you got to keep rolling and ride it. And you keep like in roping, you keep your horse legged up where he's in good shape all the time and in repetition and knows what to do. And it's the same thing with me as a driver and those guys working on the car. I mean, it's just staying in practice and staying in routine that we keep going. And so it was like last year where you get on that focus and that intensity level that you're used to working at. And we took a couple months off during the off season, and I think it took us a little bit of time to kind of get legged back up and get everybody back on the same page. But we were also trying some things, and I think that now that we've got our car back to where we want it and everybody's doing the right thing, I think it's fluid motion right now. We need to try to keep that going.
This weekend, for the first time in a long time, the specter or, rumor or thought even of going back to quarter mile racing reemerged out of official NHRA media outlets. Brian mentioned it on the television broadcast. I heard a lot of people talking about it. Frankly, that surprises me a little bit. And I had kind of moved on. And I wonder what you think, as someone who has been involved in the sport, mostly in the 1,000-foot era, has had your success. You know all the reasons. You know about the parts, the pieces, how much it will cost, the challenges, all of these things. So to this point, as much as you've considered it, what do you think about that, that rumor that has been floated out of official channels?
Well, as far as I know right now, it's still just a rumor. I got a phone call from Competition Plus on Saturday morning asking me about it, and I said, guys, I've not spoke to anyone at NHRA about it, so I don't really know if that thing even has legs with it, if it's what it'll turn into. I have spent the majority of my 80-90% of my racing career in the 1,000-foot era. I understand the reasons for not going back to 1320 racing. And I don't really know the advantage of going back to quarter mile. I think personally that the racing at 1,000 foot is better. I think it's more competitive. You go back to quarter mile racing, you're going to see cars getting driven around at the end because of parts failure or whatever. I think financially, it would take quite a bit of money and time to get the cars today to go back to quarter mile racing. That's these things right now, the race cars that we're running right now won't go a quarter mile. They won't make it. They won't live. The parts won't live. Attrition will be through the roof. So I don't know really. I don't have a whole lot to say about it. I mean, we'll do whatever they come up with, but as far as it, standing on it, I don't really know. I mean, I think that diversifying the schedule and having a short track and a long track and all that. I mean, we're different than NASCAR. You can't compare us to NASCAR in any kind of way. I don't think we have the same fans. I don't think we don't have different cars that we race for different racetracks. We don't have, double the crews going different directions with different haulers. I mean, it's just a totally different deal. And I've seen some of the fans' comments where you got your diehard fan that says drag racing's no good unless it's a quarter mile, and then you got guys that could go either way. I mean, I'm going to try to stay neutral on this at this point, but I think that it would take a lot of time and a lot of money to try to go back to to quarter mile racing, and I'm not sure how on board Goodyear would be with it. I mean, there's just a lot of change. I mean, we're running way quicker and faster right now than we were when we raced quarter mile last, and speeds are going to be well over 340 mile an hour if we were to do that how we're doing it right now. So there's a lot of, I'm not scared of anything, I'll tell you that, but that wreck that I had in 17, it hurt like hell, and I don't want to do it again. So that may be a concern. So we'll just see. I mean, NHRA hasn't put anything out to us, and hasn't said anything to pro, so I don't really know the whole stance on it right now, but we'll just see how it all pans out as time unfolds.
I appreciate you, Matt, you saying that. When Brian Lone says it on the TV broadcast, that's not an accident, in my opinion, the way it works out. Like, it's being floated out there. I just don't see what it adds. I mean, I don't know what we're talking about, basically 0.5 of a second at the end of the track, maybe less. What's it going to take to get from 1,000 foot to 1320 at, approximate speeds you guys are running? We're talking about, 0.4 or something at extreme cost when people are already struggling to do it now. Now everybody's got to keep 2 different clutch setups and data for different tracks, different parts, different pieces that can go. I don't know. I don't really see the addition it adds. I'm excited about, but hey, like you said, right? If they say 1,500 foot racing tomorrow, I'm there. And if they say, 800 foot racing, I'm still going to be there because I love every other part of the sport. And so, whatever.
Yeah, and I think you're hitting the nail on the head right there. There's most people come for good, close, fast racing. I mean, I don't want to race 8 mile, but down at the end, the finish line is 320 feet shorter right now than it was at quarter mile. You don't notice it. I mean, you're talking 0.4 of a second maybe. You're talking another 10, 15 miles an hour. I think that you just open up the window for more catastrophic failure. And, I mean, we'll just see what they come up with.
There you go. Steve, thank you very much for making the time. I know you're getting ready to go to the ESPYs. You're getting out your, you're picking out your clothes, and you're you're getting ready to roll out. We appreciate you making the time. Congratulations on making the countdown and another great win. But most importantly, putting together a team of guys that are like badass and willing to wear their emotion on their sleeve. Guys like Bobby Lagana, who was just like torn up about getting to the final round, watching Dom go rounds. I talked to your crew guys in the pit area. They said flat out to me, never imagined in a million years we would be able to enjoy moments like this over and over again. And that's what it's all about. So good job.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I really appreciate it. And thanks for giving credit where it's due. I mean, those guys are bad to the bone, and I'm glad to be part of that team.
There you go. Good luck, Steve. Have fun out there.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Steve. Steve Torrence with us here on WFO Radio Podcast. Love the fact that we are getting to know Steve Torrence. These guys brought out a giant Steve Torrence head, you know, those fat heads that people wear, except it was not current Steve. It was Pancho Villa Steve from earlier on in the year. Remember when, was that last year? Was that this year? I don't even remember when that was, but it was crazy facial hair Steve. And got some great photos up on my Instagram and Facebook accounts of Steve, like holding the head over his head, so it's like a giant head with a little body, and very fun and funny stuff. The willingness to goof around and then get serious and take out the competition in ways that have only happened a couple of times in NHRA history. It's fun to watch this team, this crew of guys, go out and do it. They're having such a good time. Spoke with Cole in the winner's circle, and, he's an Atlanta Braves fan, but other than that, real nice. And just to see those guys so appreciative of the opportunity, not, for money, but for a chance to be this dominant and what's happening. They're caught up in it, and none of them are taking it for granted. And that is so great. It's really awesome. It's really awesome to watch. And I'm starting to see on my Facebook feeds and stuff, like people are getting annoyed at Steve for being like Jimmy Johnson. This guy, somebody posted, oh, this is getting like Jimmy Johnson. I wish someone else would win. Wow. When that happens, that means you're doing it right. When fans are getting annoyed at seeing you win, like, who has that problem? Well, Tom Brady and the New England Patriots have that problem. Yeah, this guy wins too much, man. The New York Yankees, they got that problem. Man, they win all the time. What's up with that? Jimmy Johnson, a perfect example. Oh, man, it's getting boring. This guy just wins every week. Right. Back in his dominant era, Tony Schumacher, if we're going to talk about drag racing, people were very annoyed by that, except for fans of Tony Schumacher. And Steve Torrence is now in that territory. I think you can definitely say he is right there with what has happened with some of the greats. And I think it was just tremendous, tremendous. And what was really crazy is that Marvin Rodak predicted it all. Rodak's Coffee and Grills.com. A couple of, I guess, last year, made the Scott Palmer Racing Capco blend of coffee. But I had never tried it. So when I spoke with Marvin last week, and I was like, Marvin, I'm out of coffee. I called him at 817-924-6821. I said, Marvin, I'm out of coffee. And it rarely happens because Marvin is usually loading me up. But I had decided I was not going to ask for new coffee until I had every bean of coffee that was around the WFO radio studios. Because I don't believe in being wasteful. I believe in, using everything up to its very end. Remember me and Reinhart talking about used cars and parts at the beginning? I'm the guy who buys it and runs it into the ground after 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. That's my style. And it's true when it comes to coffee. Like Marvin had sent me some blends that I didn't really like, the USSR blend, etc. Drank it all, but then I was out. And so what did I need? I wanted a blend. Well, something different that I hadn't had. What comes? Scott Palmer Capco final round blend on this given weekend where Scott Palmer and Capco race in the final round. And I'm telling you, it is one of the best blends of coffee you're ever going to get. And I think you should try it. And that should be, it's what is it? Serendipity. It's just an unusual occurrence. It's the random nature of the cosmos. And you should all get in on it. 817-924-6821. 817-924-6821. Hot sauces and spice rubs and just everything good for your grilling. I'm telling you, I don't know what to say. I don't have the hyperbole and the vocabulary, the hyperbolic vocabulary to tell you how great it is. You just got to try it up and enjoy it. And you'll be like, oh, man, I get what Joe's saying. 817-924-6821. But now that the Cosmos is in on it with the Scott Palmer Capco Final Round Blend, I think you need to all try it. Give Marvin a call, 817-924-6821. I also want to say hats off to Jeff and Lisa Deal for predicting a victory for Scott Palmer. Came up one round short. Early on, round one, they were pointing at the car. This is the day. This is the day. It wasn't the day, but it was very close to the day. They made the final round very spectacular. Caught some breaks, had some good luck, had some good fortune, and good for Scott. Give Marvin a call, RoadAxeCoffeeandGrills.com, 817-924-6821. That's RoadAxeCoffeeandGrills.com. Matt Hagan's next.
It ain't just wide open, it's WFO.
Right now, though, I want to tell you about Hangstafers, metalworking lubricants. The folks at Hangstafers on board with big racers like Antron Brown and Lucas Oil Series or Sportsman Racers in the Racing RV's Top Dragster category. And their number one goal at Hangstafers is to increase the productivity in the shop. Metalworking lubricants, coolants, all kinds of stuff. You got to go to the website and check them out. And so go to hangstafers.com to find out more information. Alan Reinhart always says, like, the one thing that DSR and JFR have in common is Hangstafers metalworking lubricants. We're happy to have them on board, happy to have them helping our WFO radio listeners in their shop. Hangstafers metalworking lubricants, trying to make you a little more efficient in the shop.
Hey, WFO Universe. Want something for free? Send a self-addressed stamped envelope with plenty of postage, and we'll load it up with free WFO stickers. That's right, I said free. Send your envelope, care of Castello Media /WFO stickers to P.O. Box 848353, Pembroke Pines, Florida 33084. Do it now.
If you're looking for extra horsepower, check out WilsonManifolds.com. The leader in intake manifold and nitrous oxide development. They've set records and won championships in just about every series in professional racing. Sprint Cup, Nationwide, Camping World Truck Series, NHRA Pro Stock, right up to the Nitro classes. If you're looking for extra horsepower, check out the leader in intake and nitrous development at WilsonManifolds.com.
WFO Radio is brought to you in part by Extreme Velocity 3 Drag Racing. Download for your mobile device. Win your way on the show. WFO.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
NHRA Nitro is now on Spotify. That's right, a lot of people get their podcasts through Spotify. It's a free app. You can get WFO Radio in many places. We have our own dedicated app. That is the preferred method, because I can send you push notifications and tell you, call in the show or when a new show is up or all of these different things, which is great. But maybe you like the functionality of some of these other podcast apps like SoundCloud is great. Spotify works great. Of course, Apple Podcasts works great. All of these different things, Stitcher. However you want to listen, you can listen, but we are now on Spotify and also Factory Stock Podcast, which is produced by us here at WFO Radio. I think it is great. If you did not hear Drew Skillman, you really want to. If you are interested at all in Factory Stock, you need to go to Spotify, go to Apple Podcast, search Factory Stock Podcast, write us a review, of course. Please write a review, but listen to it, because it is a big debate, just like this whole quarter mile thing is going to be a big debate. Steve Torrence gave his opinion. We're going to ask Matt Hagan. We're going to hear from Mike Knutson after the interview. We'll go on location at the Winner's Circle. But right now, I want to tell you about Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School and the Dragster Adventure. Here's the deal. Racing is about participation, but nobody can do it because nobody can afford it. The feeling of driving a car and accelerating in a dragster, you've got this fan base that we'll call them the 100% fan base. But how many of the fan base have actually had the experience? And what's the answer? 5%? 2%? The experience of the drag racing fan base that has launched off the starting line with a trans brake in a dragster that's got 600 to 700 horsepower. Yeah, not too many. Unlike the baseball fan who's all thrown a baseball, basketball fan who's all shot baskets. It's expensive. It takes a considerable investment just to get a little tiny taste, just to sip. Can I have some more? Fortunately, Frank Hawley has created a system where you can do it. 866-480-7223 is the number. I'll give that again much slower momentarily. The Dragster Adventure, they have the cars. They provide the safety equipment. They provide everything. You just show up, They come to you for the most part. They travel around the country. You pick a place that's near you. Quarter mile, 130 miles per hour, 0 to 60, 3 seconds. The ride of a lifetime. And they're going to Gainesville in 2020. They'll be in Norwalk, Ohio on the 19th of this month. They'll be in Maple Grove in August. They'll be out there in Fontana, California in October. Go to the website, check them out. Now, maybe you want to get your Super Comp license. Maybe you are a bracket racer, you want to get better. Maybe you want to drive an alcohol funny car. Frank Hawley can help you with all of that. Maybe you want to become a champion driver and you know you need to get better. Frank Hawley can help you with all of that. But if you're a race fan and you got $399, which I know you do, to spend on yourself or you and a friend or you and your wife, this is something you will love. You need to do it. And, of course, tell them you heard about it on WFO Radio. That's it. I'm telling you, you will love it. All right, let's keep on rolling. Joining us now, he was the funny car winner once again. That's 3 in a row for Matt Hagan. Matt Hagan is back with us here on WFO. What's up, Matt? Congratulations.
Hey, Joe. Thanks for having me on the show, brother.
Okay, what is it about New England? It's a diehard old school place, and you got it locked down over there. How? Why?
I don't know, man. Some of these tracks show you a bunch of love, and some just don't at all. And I guess this is one that shows us quite a bit of love to be there 3 years in a row and win all 3 races. And I'm looking to get back there next year, man. Obviously it'll be hard to repeat that again, but it just seems to kind of fall in place with the timing and the way we're doing some things. And we won Phoenix this year, and then came out and changed some stuff around, took the 5 disc out and put the 6 in, and there's just always a learning curve and moving things around. And then finally came into this weekend, and you could just see and feel the confidence that Dickie had with some of the stuff he was doing in the Bellhausen and the adjustments we were making. And this car was going down a really, really hot racetrack. I tell you, out there Friday and Saturday, I was like, man, I'm going to die. It was just pouring sweat, and we were out signing autographs and stuff and doing some midway display stuff. And, I ran through like 3 shirts in one day, man. It was just miserably, brutally hot and just humid. I can't recall being at a racetrack that has been that humid. We've been at hotter racetracks, but I can't, really recall being at something that is just like you just drench yourself in sweat,
Yeah, it was brutal. Me being from South Florida, I'm used to humidity. That was definitely a 7 out of 10 on the humidity scale we're used to. But the difference is, we can go dive into the water or something. We got an ocean breeze that goes by. That was a little bit different. But fortunately, Sunday changed everything. And that first round run you threw down, a 95, set the tone for the day, but also shocked a lot of people. Took advantage of the better weather.
Yeah, that's the thing about Dickie is when the weather comes in and it's tune-ups together, it's, kind of hang on. One of those deals where, the car ran really well. I think we were low for every session and kept lane choice every round, So, man, that's huge to me. I think the lanes were pretty equal, and we had, I will say that about that racetrack up there. It's a really good track. The racing surface itself is not a lot of bumps on it. It's smooth. It's good. It's, there's just not a lot of difference in either lane. And, but anytime that you can keep choice, that you have that confidence going in, like, hey, we've been down this racetrack and these small adjustments we're going to make are going to be minimal, So, that's what I really could see in my crew chiefs and with Mike Knudsen and Dickie Venables and Alex Conway and those guys doing, just kind of going through the car, and you just see like there wasn't a whole lot of changes going on up there in the lounge,
Well, that is great to see, and it's great to see that you're kind of back right when it really matters for you, getting ready for the Mile High Nationals, which is a big race for you and your sponsor, of course. But the Western Swing is where everybody has got to get it going. Otherwise, you're not really a championship contender if you don't show what you got on the swing. That's at least been the story of the past couple of years. Sitting 8th in the point standings, but with Robert out there with a pretty big lead, the points are actually very close, and you could find yourself much closer to the top if you can go on a little run here.
Well, I was telling everybody coming into this race, this needed to be the turning point for our season, and, it happened sooner than later because, you're starting to run out of time. We're halfway through, and then those last 6 races, you have to win, 2 or 3 of the 6, to be the champion. And it's just that competitive and that tough out there. And I think that, for us, if we, last year we won this deal, and then we go into Denver, and Denver's just, it's really kind of a chaotic mess. You know, you go up there going like, well, what do we do now? You know, because everything's just so different. But, you know, having Zippy on board, I think, you know, he has a really good combo for up there in Denver. And we're kind of taking some pointers from him moving into the Denver race, you know, as far as what he's doing with fuel curve and different things like that. And, you know, and I think that's going to give some more confidence to what we're doing, you know, because we've never really had the greatest Denver tune-up. But, you know, at the end of the day, when we get down, we only race in Denver one time a year, you know. So at the end of the day, when we get back to Sonoma and Seattle, I feel like, you know, we'll be fine. But I need to win Denver, man. I haven't won that. That's my sponsor's race. And, you know, I've been driving for Mopar for 8 or 9 years now, and, you know, kind of carrying the banner for them. And, you know, they hooked me up with a company vehicle last year. So I feel like I owe them a race, you know. So
yes.
It's, you got to do something to make it happen, man. Keep the love going, you know.
I agree. Now, second round, you're running against your teammates in many ways. You had to get through Jack Beckman first round, and, Jack was sent up to the broadcast booth, which is a benefit for everybody with the 95. Then the second round, you got to go up against Caps. And so, Ron Tobler, those guys over there, you get through Caps. And then you mentioned Zippy, Mike Neff, who has been helping out Bob Tasca. Bob Tasca was going for 3 in a row. And Dickie told us on the starting line, he said it was ironic because Neff had been helping you guys out. Obviously, the help had worked, but then you took him out.
Yeah, you know, I mean, we didn't back into anything, which is really, really wild, is that we didn't, somebody, basically have any easy draws out there. You know, I mean, we went through some really, really tough cars all day on Sunday and, really had to earn every round. And there was not a car that you went up there and goes like, well, all right, man, let's just go down the racetrack and not beat ourselves here. It's like we have to press every round and really and run hard and run good and be consistent and keep the car in the groove and leave on time. And the car's got to run strong, you know, because it's going to come down to 100 or 2, you know, between, all these cars that we're racing. So, it's just a great feeling to win a race like that you know you didn't back into it or somebody give you something or you just didn't, had a bunch of red lights or whatever, you know what I mean? Like it was some straight up hard racing and we were able to get through it all day on Sunday.
You and Langdon in the final round, I know he double bulbed, but it was a mistake. It was cool. You were very on time, let's put it that way, in 0:30 light. 33.
Yeah, I was in a number. You know, I was probably had a 40 light. You know what I mean? And when we did the math, you know, I was in 100. But it's the final. You take a little bit. I try to be very, very thin on race day to keep lane choice. But when it's the final, you try to shorten up the racetrack a little bit. I took about 100, and so we probably ran a 4 flat instead of a 401, and my light was probably like a 440 or a 440 4 or whatever. An 040, I'm sorry. And, you just kind of, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, the wind light came on. We had a good combo. We left on time. We kept it in the groove, and the car went down the racetrack. And that's what we needed to do. And Langdon, yeah, he's a good driver, man. And I got a lot of respect for him. And I'd give him shit out there. I was like, what the hell, man? But I was just joking with him. And I know he wouldn't do anything like that on purpose. I mean, and who cares if he does? It's racing, man. You know what I mean? It's just what it is, And, but I gave him, it's kind of like I saw it happen, and I was like, well, he's probably in there rushing and, fumbling around trying to get the pumps on real quick, and I could have probably rolled in there and rushed him a little bit, but I was like, I didn't think it was something he was trying to mess with me, so I gave him a few seconds to kind of, I counted to about a 4-1 and then went ahead and pulled my pumps on him and rolled in, but I was really ready to go, and I feel like sometimes that's kind of what I've been known for, is that when you give me the opportunity, I try to rise to that occasion and usually have some pretty good lights in the semis and finals and try not to let my team down. So it was just one of those deals where I was already chewing on my mouthpiece and ready to go, and it all worked out. But yeah, we just got some good racing. Langdon's a good racer, and sometimes you get excited and you try to take too big of a chunk or something like that, and it comes on. But he came over and apologized, sent my crew chief a text and everything else. He's a good dude. He's legit, and I really like Langdon.
Yeah, absolutely. And, he's a good guy. And, you get everybody at the right time for the most part, it's going to be pretty good. So in the winner's circle, I spoke with Mike Knutson. We'll hear that interview after your interview. But he was very positive and optimistic and really feels like some good things are coming down the pike now for this team, that you guys are, positioning yourself to be a real threat in the final 6 races. We know that that's where the championship is won and lost. Literally, you'll gain many, many points on Robert Hight, assuming he is the points leader going in. And then all of a sudden, the championship fight, the U.S. Nationals, all that is coming down the wire. New England, I want to mention that you stuck around to the very last fan had left the winner's circle, which I thought was really cool. What were the fans telling you out there in terms of what they're hoping for you for the next few races?
Oh, just everybody's super positive, and they love that we come out and put on a great show. And that's the thing. These people are paying their hard-earned money to come out here and watch us. There's nothing better when they can see some side-by-side racing and not a lot of tire smoking out there, and just some good old-fashioned drag racing. And they really appreciate it and love it. And there's people work hard for their money every day, and they decide to come out and spend it with us. And I'm just glad that we're allowed to put on a great show for them, and they're excited about it and stick around and want to get the autographs afterwards, and pass the trophy around and get the pictures and that kind of stuff. And that's what's really cool to me is I remember back in the day when I was like, hey, do you want an autograph? And nobody was like, no, I'm good. You know what I mean? So it's a lot different now, and it's really cool to take that time for the people that stay over and take pictures with them and sign hats and let them hold the Wally and different things like that. So very, very, very cool stuff, man. And I think that we have it was a good healing weekend for us. We've been out first round I don't know how many times in a row, and way more than I'd like. And you're just kind of like, man, we were in a little bit of a rut, and it was time to get out of it, man. So it was a very, very good, positive healing weekend for us. The swing is a little different, obviously, because we up to Denver and then back to sea level and different things like that. But just looking forward, to the confidence that we've grown last weekend, and trying to push some of that in the right direction. And I know that I can see it in Dickie's eyes. I mean, the guy's super smart, and I wouldn't trade him for any crew chief out here. I mean, you line him up, and I pick him every day. And even when we're doing bad, man, because I know it's just a matter of time before we can turn stuff around. So I'm excited to see what he can do with this race car coming up. And I know I'm going to get up on the wheel and drive my ass off, man. So I'm excited for our whole team.
Very good stuff. All right, now everybody was enjoying the Fu Manchu mustache. Brian had said it was a handlebar mustache. I believe it's a Fu Manchu. I think it looks great. I saw some photos of Hulk Hogan, and that was the look that he rocked. And I think, man, you could really do something here with this, depending on how long you elect to keep it. But, man, we could have a lot of fun. I have informally polled my listeners, and 100% say you should keep it for at least a couple more races.
Oh, yeah. I don't know, man. It's starting to get itchy. You're going to get it trimmed up and stuff a little bit, but I'll see how long I can hang with it. It was just something I did for fun and some laughs. And but hell, it must be lucky, I guess, So it's like, do I shave it? Do I not shave it? Do I keep it? The wife won't kiss me. I don't know what to do, kind of thing. So it's kind of one of those deals where we'll just see how it rolls, though.
There you go. Okay, now let me ask you about something, relatively serious, your opinion. It was said on the broadcast this week, rumors. I don't really talk rumors because who knows what's true and what's not. But I do know if something gets mentioned on the NHRA broadcast, there's something to it, right? It would never get broadcast.
You're talking about the quarter-mile stuff?
Yes, sir. What say you? What do you think? Want to, don't want to, good idea, bad idea? What does Matt Hagan think?
Yeah, Comp Plus interviewed me about it just last weekend. And honestly, man, I love drag racing. I love our fans, and I know we're here to put on a show. And everybody loves quarter-mile racing. But at the end of the day, it's just an added expense for these teams. We're already having, not fully funded fields out here. And, we had, 15 cars and Funny Car this weekend, and 13 or 14 in Top Fuel. And, it just anytime that we're going to change parts and pieces and we're on the pedal longer, we're going to have more parts breakage and more expense to our teams, and kind of keep everything the same in uniform, whether it's we're all quarter mile or we're all 1,000 foot, and it's just kind of keep things consistent and move forward. Go jumping back and forth, having to have different parts combinations, different things like that. It's just an added expense, and these things are already super expensive to run, and sponsorship is incredibly hard to get out here nowadays, and showing a return on our investment. And our sport's growing, but it's still, this winter I was beating the bushes hard, for sponsorships and different things like that, and there's it's just really, really hard to come by nowadays, man. And so I want to see our sport continue. I still want to continue to be in our sport, but if we continue to add costs to what we're doing, there's not going to be much of a sport left. There's not going to be very many cars. It's going to end up being an 8-car field or something like that instead of a 16. So, I don't know. I don't know the answer. I know I love our sport. I love what we're doing. I know we're in the entertainment business and we're here to put on a show, but we have to look at costs for our teams and, running back and forth in our schedules and, carrying extra parts and pieces and doing different things. And, I think that all factors into it. So whatever we can do to keep our costs down and still put on a great show for our fans, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, okay. And so you're not against going to 1320. That would be fun for you as the driver, but it would be, there'd be parts that would have to be swapped out, changes, things like that.
Yeah, whatever we do needs to be consistent. Everything we do is about repetition and consistency with these cars, whether it's staging them, backing them up, how much fuel we have in them, how long we're out on the pedal, how long these things idle, how long they run out of fuel down there on big end, so just everything, the fuel curves and everything else. If we're going to go 1320, let's go 1320 at all the tracks, not just a few here and there, because then you're carrying different combos and different fuel pumps and just all kinds of stuff back and forth. Whatever they decide to do, let's do it and be consistent with it across the board. And if that's, our track's got to build longer shutdowns or whatever, then so be it, whatever. I don't know. There's no great answer, but I know they want to give the fans the 1320 experience, but at the end of the day, these cars are covering a lot of ground very, very fastly. And, there's anybody, I'll tell anybody this has never been on fire in one of those things and don't have enough room to stop and don't know where you're at on the racetrack and you're holding your breath and the thing's bouncing and jumping off the ground. You want every inch of racetrack that you can get this car shutting down. So, anyway, I just want to stay safe. I want to be consistent, and I want to put on a show for our fans because I love what they do and how they support us. And we can't do it without them. But I want to keep racing. You know what I mean? And if we keep adding cost to what we're doing, we're not going to be out here racing.
Got it. No, and thank you for saying it that way and putting it out there. This is in the, I guess the decision mode, the incubator. Is it a trial balloon? I don't know what we would call it, but they want us to talk about it and get opinions, and that's what we're doing. So thank you for weighing in on that. Matt, congratulations on your win out there in New England. Again, 3 in a row. That is very, very impressive. The guys in the winner's circle, all the fans, they have come to really love and appreciate the way you do it. You guys even drew a Fu Manchu on Wally. Does that stay?
Sure did. Yeah, well, I sent that up there to Mopar, so we have all new leadership in Mopar. We've kind of had, internal turnover up there, and so this is kind of the first win for Mopar under the new regime. And so I was like, even with the Fu Manchu, I sent it up there to Del Otto. He's going to walk it over there this week and kind of sit it on their desk. But Mopar's been a huge supporter of mine for a long time, and like I said, we went up there the other day and just making sure everything's moving forward and they're happy, and we're going to continue to be in the sport for a long time, and that's the kind of the field that I got. So that was very, very positive, and I was just like, man, this is the first one that we pulled down with these new guys in here. So we sent the Fu Manchu Wally up there to them.
There you go. Way to go, Matt. Congratulations. Big win. We'll see you out there in Denver. Enjoy your off weekend, whatever you're going to do. I know you'll probably be
planting
working.
Hemp, brother. Planting hemp.
There you go. Yeah, you're a farmer now. I mean, you're a farmer. You've always been a farmer, but now you're farming something different.
Yeah, we're farming a little bit of everything, brother. Thank you for having me on the show. Thank you to our fans, all the folks that support Mopar and Pennzoil and Sandvik and the things that we do to keep us out here. Can't do it without them. Thanks for all your listeners, Joe, and we'll see you soon. Hopefully talk to you soon when we win again.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you very much.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you, Matt. Matt Hagan with us here on WFO Radio. And before we go any further, let's go right back out to the winner's circle and hear from one of the brain trust who makes it happen, is very tall and very smart. Mike Knudsen was celebrating in the winner's circle out there. Mike, I was looking for Alex. I didn't see Alex, but Mike Knudsen was there along Dickie Venables hanging out, everybody having a good time. Let's hear what Mike Knudsen had to say. WFO Radio here with one of the co-crew chiefs on Matt Hagan's funny car, Mike Knudsen. Dickie Venables over here holding the court as well. Hey, this is a big win for you guys. There was some struggle. There were some down times, but you are now back.
Yeah, we've really been struggling the last few weeks. We've kind of worked out a whole new combination that we haven't really been able to test very much, and it finally came to fruition here this weekend. It's just been, baby steps, making runs down the racetrack, and then it finally all came together. We've really had our struggles running teammates almost since Gainesville, and that's never easy. We know what they're capable of. They know what we're capable of. So, same thing happened here. We're on the right side of good drag races.
And the 395 in the first round, that was really a moonshot, and that set the tone for the day.
Yeah, I mean, we were hoping to run, maybe 97 or 98, so it ran a little faster than that. But every now and then you get a lucky break, and then it kind of paves the way for the rest of the day, builds your confidence, and then after that it was just really, Dickie really working on nitpicking the tune-up, and we were able to keep lane choice all day, so that's always a benefit.
Now, you guys are a great team, great driver, great crew chiefs, great equipment, but have had some struggles, but now it looks like you're back. Do you feel like you are, in the championship hunt, can go on a run, all those good things as we get to the most critical part of the season?
Well, the great thing about the countdown is, anyone that makes the top 10s in it, when we won the championship, we started from the 7th spot. So, we're not really concerned with exactly where we finish in that. It's just getting the data that we need to go ahead and win the championship. So I think no matter where you're at, anyone can win.
Now, what I think is great is the team atmosphere that you guys have, and it's really like an all-for-one, one-for-all deal. And the idea that, Matt told everybody that you guys have all agreed to get similar mustaches to him, that's really good.
You'll probably see a couple guys grow them on the swing for sure,
How do you know I just made all that up? I just made it all up, and you knew immediately I was busting your chops.
Well, some try to grow them. Some are more successful than others, but it's always entertaining on the swing. The guys, they're all family. They're going to spend the next, get this weekend off, and then they're going to be together for the next 3 weeks, so they always have to come up with some sort of comedic routines, jokes to have amongst each other. So, mustaches are one of them. I'm sure there's plenty other things out there.
You need to show up with fake ones, at very least, like fake Matt Hagan style mustaches somewhere so we can take that photo.
I think we can make that happen.
There you go. Mike, congratulations. Great win.
Thanks, Joe.
Mike Knudsen, preceded by Matt Hagan, winning funny car racers out there at New England Dragway. Great stuff by those guys, getting back on the top, holding up a Wally. Matt had the Fu Manchu going. They drew the Fu Manchu out onto the Wally, sent it back to Mopar. Really cool stuff. Yeah, the whole quarter mile discussion, very, very interesting. His thoughts on quarter mile, kind of on the fence, but basically says he wants to do one or the other, not both. And that is interesting. I'm going to delve a little bit more deeply into this at the tail end of the show during my time. Now, when we come back, it's going to be Dominic Lagana going to be talking about quarter mile, like what does it take to do it, because he's done it. And that is a very interesting thought process in that the Lagana brothers, they never stopped running quarter mile. They ran quarter in the early on IHRA days, and now that that's over, they're doing match racing. And what does it take? How hard is it? I know we used to do it, but in terms of expense and hard parts and what needs to be replaced. And I'm just going to ask Dom about it, but I am going to refrain from asking his opinion, yes or no. Let's just make it a fact-based discussion with Dominic, who went to the second round, by the way, and was our Sealmaster Track Walk guest this past weekend. We did some great social media stuff. And the guy's, running quarter mile really to this day. He'll be running the Nitro Ninja quarter mile at points during the season when he does match races. So very interesting. We got Dom Lagana coming up. But right now, I want to tell you about HusseyPerformance.net and the quality Hussey copper head gaskets that are out there on the market that are available in increments of 1/1000 of an inch. And if they don't stock it, they'll make it. Yeah, they will make it for you. Typically, it takes less than a week, and they have next-day shipping also. So if you're going to the track or at the track, they can punch you up something and send it out. The tolerance is half a thou, so you know you're getting something good. HusseyPerformance.net, ProMod, Hondas, tractors, whatever. If you need a copper head gasket, they are the people. And to me, the results of Sean Bellemure's Bartone Brothers team tells you all you need to know. I know there's a lot of companies that make copper head gaskets out there. But to associate yourself with one that is a supporter of WFO radio and currently has, championship cars out there getting it done, that everything is made in America, including the machines, that they have great customer service, and David will answer the phone when you call 724-318-8292, to me seals the deal. Check them out. It is HusseyPerformance.net, Ambridge, Pennsylvania, 724-318-8292. Tell them you heard about it on WFO radio. Dom Lagana talks quarter mile after this.
Everybody, listen carefully.
Now you listen to me. Why do you listen? WFO, you guys are number one. Honest. Listen.
Hey, this is Scott Palmer, driver of the NHRA Cat Spot Litter Top Fuel Dragster. Do you have a cat? Go to catspotlitter.com. Order it today. All natural product made out of coconuts, 100% biodegradable. All you NHRA fan, cat owners, support our team. Go to catspotlitter.com.
Start your education at full speed with the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Accelerate your career as a high-performance engine builder with classroom instruction and practical hands-on experience in the lab, on the dyno, and at the track. In addition to the blockhead and CNC programs, SAM now offers motorsport EFI tuning and an Associates of Applied Science degree. And SAM is a military-friendly school, approved to train veterans and other eligible persons under the GI Bill. Start your education at full speed. Go to samtech.edu today.
Hey, this is Joe Castello, and we'll be back to the show in a second. But first, I want to tell you about CompetitionPlus.com. There's a reason CompetitionPlus.com is the leader among drag racing electronic magazines. Their trained staff is always on alert and always asking the tough questions. The end result is hard-hitting drag racing journalism with up-to-the-minute reporting. For over a decade, CompetitionPlus.com has been a pioneer as drag racing's go-to source for the latest in news, race coverage, and high-quality photography. Their trained staff thrives on getting the inside stories, and their columnists study their topics before they hit their first keystroke. When it comes to covering the races, they leave you feeling as if you've actually been to the race. CompetitionPlus.com is an honest-to-goodness, free drag racing magazine published by the most passionate of drag racing fans, who just happen to be journalists. Don't wonder what's going on in the drag racing world. Be in the know daily. Log on to CompetitionPlus.com.
Hey, what's up, WFO Universe? It's Kathy Fisher. Join me along with Joe Castello every Sunday morning on Motor Trend for Performance TV. That's 8:30 a.m. Eastern. We'll see you then.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
WFO Radio, welcome back. If you want to follow me on Twitter, at WFO Joe. If you want to follow me on Instagram, at WFO Joe. If you want to follow the show, at WFO Radio. We basically retweet others and tweet the links of all the show. So if you're worried about missing a show, you should definitely subscribe, but follow on Twitter and Instagram, and you will not miss a show. We have a lot of good stuff, a lot of fun stuff, a lot of pictures of cars and cool things. So follow us on social media. Good stuff happening. All right, the quarter-mile discussion is ongoing, and there are few people better than our next guest to discuss switching from 1,000-foot to quarter-mile. Joining us now to discuss what it would take to go back to quarter-mile from a crew chiefing and parts perspective, the guy who has done it, and I saw him do it up there at Martin, Michigan, Dominic Lagana. Dom, welcome back to WFO Radio. Perfect guy to talk about quarter-mile drag racing. When was the last time you tuned or drove to 1,320 feet?
Would be last September, the weekend after Indy, is our annual. We do 2 match races a year at Martin, Michigan, and it was September 9th or something like that.
So this is something you do on a yearly basis. You've been doing it. I know a lot of fans years ago were really longing to go back to 1,320 feet. It has popped back up this past weekend, and so it's something I want to address. I don't need you to give me your, yes, it's a good idea, no, it's a bad idea opinion, but I would love to know what it takes to switch from 1,000-foot to 1,320 in terms of like parts, pieces, tuning, and what would have to be changed.
So, since NHRA did switch back, we ran out the course of the IHRA series, whether it was the Nitro Jam or when they were booking us in, and majority of the races that were capable of holding it, we ran quarter mile. Some of them weren't necessarily fast tracks. And then Martin, Michigan, we've been racing there for a long time, and we still have run quarter mile there. So it wasn't, as a growing up in racing, we always ran quarter mile, and it's just something that we did. I think it was a little bit of a draw for people for a match race to say, hey, they could still run quarter mile. But we were going to these races running 470s, 480s, going to English, which you've seen before, running in the mid 470s at 315, 320 miles an hour to quarter mile. So necessarily that was partly because the track, that's all it would hold per the conditions. And also, we were getting paid to put on a show, and it's, let's not go out there and beat up on our parts, make sure the thing comes back clean. You know what I mean?
Sure. So like competition would be very different than what you guys were doing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as a lot of people had seen 2 years ago in 2017, we ran 448 at 338 miles an hour. And I think the speed is what stuck out more to people than anything. And we actually ran a 383 at 323 miles per hour to 1,000 foot. And, that was Martin, Michigan in September on a Saturday night. So, track 70 degrees, air temperature is 65 degrees, basically Candyland conditions. So at an NHRA race, Candyland conditions for us, guys are dipping in the 360s and running low 370s. So we went there and ran 383, which, if you went out on a Friday night at Pomona and ran a 383, you yourself would be like, they missed the setup. But because we went to the quarter mile, it looked like something more spectacular than it actually was, which it is pretty impressive to do that in the quarter mile, but it's tough to, you lose sight of how quick we are actually going now to the 1,000 feet and how fast we are going as well.
So in terms of elapsed time, is it safe to say the last split from 1,000 to 1320 is approximately 0.6 of a second? Is that a decent rule of thumb?
Yeah, I'd say when you're running in the 380 range or 370 range, it's about 6.5 of a second would be the split.
Because accelerating that part is impossible. Like that's even if you guys set it up, still you're not building nearly the speed in that last 320 feet.
No, fair. That's part of the thrill of Nitro cars is from 0 to 660, they go from 0 miles per hour to 280, 290. And then the last back half of the track, the car's still accelerating, but it, compared to what it just did in the first half, it's not, not quite as much of an acceleration. So, but it's insane what they do to the half track, and which is part of the other thing too. When NHRA switched back in 2008, a top fuel car on Candyland conditions would go 280, maybe 285 miles an hour to half track. The funny cars were pretty much in the 260s, maybe would dip in the 270s. Now in the good conditions, top fuel cars are approaching 300 miles per hour to the 8th mile, which is insane. So, that's going to equate to, if you made it a way faster speed at the quarter, but it's just not, it doesn't add up now. We've accomplished so much to the 1,000 feet that you never thought would be possible. And that is due to the fact that the finish line is only to the 1,000 feet. You know what I mean?
Sure. So in terms of what it would take to go back to a quarter mile, what parts would have to be changed? Like, I understand that some of the fuel tanks are smaller because of that amount of fuel is not necessary. So they save a little weight. They put in a different fuel tank. What else would have to be replaced if we were going to do certain races? Because the rumor, which I want everybody to understand, this is, it's a rumor that was floated out there this weekend that people are discussing, so we're now discussing. It would happen at a couple of tracks to be determined. So not a full-time thing, just a couple of tracks. Much the way, like Steve said earlier on the show, just so you know, Dom, we talked to Steve about it. He gave us his opinion that, like NASCAR's got their long tracks and their short tracks and their road courses and all of that stuff. So this would be a couple of times a year, maybe once or twice. Teams would have to prepare for this. So what parts are different?
The first thing, like you said, fuel tanks, because since we're so worried about weight, everybody cut down their fuel tanks about 2 gallons. So you need to have a bigger fuel tank, shorten the fuel line behind the fuel tank, which is not the end of the world, really. The huge thing is the rev limiters that have been mandated since 2005. From when we went to the, electronic ignition box, the MSC box, it started out at a higher RPM. I think the original one was 8,400 RPM. The car would hit the rev limiter, and obviously we were running quarter mile back then. Now the top fuel cars are, I think, 78 or 7,900 RPM. The rev limiter kicks in. So the problem that we have when we're like now, we start dropping cylinders at 800 feet, 900 feet because that rev limiter is taking timing out at such a hard rate. It's the motor starts basically running backwards. And yeah, I guess it does keep the speeds in control to the 1,000 foot, but the problem we run across is when the motor, it's like putting a cylinder out. The motor starts ratcheting, vibrating, you know, and a lot of times it causes the main cat nuts to come loose, which will break your crankshaft or crack your crankshaft or hurt a piston. So that'd be a huge thing that would need to be addressed is that, you know, something else would need to be designed, in my opinion, for rev limiter wise. You know, maybe a maximum timing that we're allowed. You know, as from experience of running quarter-mile match races all these years, you know, we've gone out there and ran very low timing to the quarter mile because we were trying to keep the parts clean and trying to keep the motor clean and, you know, and just make a safe run. And the cars run 320 miles per hour with, you know, a way less amount of timing than we run now. So but the parts are clean. You know, it's just, you have to find a happy medium. But the problem is we're in competition. So you're going to want to squeeze every bit of performance you can out of that thing so you can win. So the rev limiter for sure is a big thing they'd have to change or address.
Interesting. Now, we have heard for many years that the 340 mile per hour speed is a no-go zone, okay, and that we don't want to have to develop new stuff, new tires, all of these things, tire partner Goodyear, 340, they back down. So it just makes sense to me that if, in fact, there's discussion about this, that limit is still out there. So everything that we're seeing in 1,000-foot would probably just be stretched out into a quarter mile, which means you could not run as hard to the 1,000-foot. What would that take? Like, clutch settings, all of those things. Would the first 1,000 feet, the initial hit, would it seem less intense, in your opinion?
It's tough to say. I mean, as a driver, yeah, for sure. Like, you know, when our car runs at 370 at close to 330 at 1,000 foot, it's a way different feeling than running a 390 at 310 miles an hour. You know, as far as the fans go, I don't know that, you know, I think one of the big things people look for is when cars eclipse that 300 mile per hour mark. You know, the hardcore fans definitely want those low EPs and top speeds, but you'd have to, I guess, see what people think when they say, you know, I think people maybe would enjoy that the cars went the extra 320 feet, but I think people really do enjoy now what they're accomplishing at 1,000 feet. You know, it's incredible, as I said before. And, you know, you can't keep everybody happy, I suppose. And I don't know, I guess you could run a poll on the fans or start asking them when you're there, but it's a little bit of a touchy subject, you know. For sure, you couldn't take the setup now and just go and run quarter miles because, as I said, the rev limiter is, you're going to hurt parts. So, you know, you're putting the potential for a serious explosion because, you know, think of your automobile. You go in your car and you stand on the gas and park. It hits the rev limiter and the motor, you know, bangs off the rev limiter. Well, imagine our car making 11,000 horsepower, 60 pounds of boost, 80 plus gallons running through it, and having that same rev limiter bouncing off the rev limiter happening, and that's what the motor's doing. And to carry that on the rev limiter for an extra 320 feet definitely would be bad news, you know. So it's tough. They'd have to figure. I think there's a lot more changes that need to be done than just taking the current setup and going running it at quarter mile.
So, later on, I'll give the listeners, my thought out opinion on this, at least initially. Of course, I'm always open to changing my opinion in lieu of new information.
Oh, yeah.
But, and by the way, I've said it earlier, I'll say it again. If they make it 1,500 feet, I'm going to the drag races. And if they make it, 750 feet, I'm going to the drag races because I love the sound, the speed, the people, the cars, the colors, all the good stuff. The length of the track is the least important for me. And we see other series, PDRA runs 8th mile. I don't necessarily want to do that. I prefer a quarter of a mile, but I'm going anyway. Whatever it is, I'm going.
Yeah, likewise for me.
Exactly. But it just seems like it would take a significant amount of, testing and tuning and figuring and sorting to do it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. First and foremost, obviously we'd have to have a track that could accompany going that fast the extra 320 feet. And then, like I said, you couldn't expect, especially guys like Mike Salinas and the Steve Torrence teams. Torrence they run on their own dollar. They're fortunate enough to work hard their whole life, and instead of going on vacation, they spend their hard money on drag racing because they love it, simply. So that's not to say they want to go out there and, just go run quarter mile and blow a bunch of stuff up. And likewise for Mike Salinas, to run it on his own dollar, and no other team wants to spend more money than they have to as well. But there would have to be some extensive testing to, go out there and maybe back it down and run it to the 1,000 feet, see what the part's like, or take your current setup and if you're ballsy enough and go run it to the quarter mile and see what happens. But, it's tough. There definitely would have to be a lot of testing to do it.
Interesting stuff. Well, the way I look at it is you guys have got experience, you and your brother, of course, and you going up to Martin Mission. I was there just randomly doing a Super Chevy TV show, and there's, the Dom Lagana, and I went over and hung out, and that's where I met Bob Zelag and got to hang out with you guys for like the first time and got to stand on the starting line for that run. I believe it was that year, 2017, and it was neat, definitely a novelty. I'm certainly not against it, but yeah. I want whatever is best in total for the series and for more cars and for more fans and people to be excited, and we're all debating what that is right now, and I really appreciate you weighing in. All right, let's talk about your race day since I got you on there. You're doing pretty well looking at the point standings, Dom, for somebody who is a part-time racer, sitting 15th, but not that far out of, behind Billy Torrence. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I guess our little joker bit going around the Capco shop, because I do work there, is if you combine Billy and I's points, I think we moved up to third place this past weekend. So that shows what a year Billy's having as a part-time guy. And for sure, our team, we may not have had the consistency we wanted, but we've put some runs together in the right places and, been fortunate to win some rounds. And we're definitely having a great year, and kind of stinks that our next race for us will be Reading, Pennsylvania, but it's all good. We got some match races coming up as well, but definitely been a heck of a year. Take out Brittany Force 2 races in a row for us. I mean, she's 2017 champ. Great team. They got Grubby and Max Savage over there, and a car that's known, guys that are known to throw down runs. It's pretty cool to be able to have beat. It's a special year for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I think it is great. And, Brittany said that was a really long tree. She was real early. Yeah. You were a little early. Was it a really long tree?
It was extremely long. I don't know if I went off of hearing her motor or it was really straight. Everything went down, and a couple of guys actually joked, but were kind of serious. I thought it was starting, but it was just a long tree, and we were both amped up. I mean, pretty cool being first pair, hearing that national anthem go, and you're excited as heck. And as I was hitting the gas, I'm like, the tree's definitely going to come. It's been long enough. I'll just have an old 30 light by accident. But it didn't work out that way, and I got lucky, extremely lucky. But you need some of that luck to go on sometimes. You know what I mean?
So true, so true. Dom, thank you very much for making the time, not just now, but throughout the weekend. We worked you this weekend for various things, including the track walk, and to kill a little time during rain delay on NHRA social media. We appreciate you doing that. Thank you for your insight into the quarter-mile deal. I'm asking the racers, going to ask everyone their opinion, of course. I'll let you just give us the facts, but as someone who has very recently run quarter-mile, I think you would know, and I appreciate your information.
Yeah, no problem. I think you hit it. A little bit of the reason we still do it is it is a novelty, and we've created almost of a cult following up in Martin, and people love to come up here to see us race, and also because we run quarter mile. But I just want people to know we do it. It's match racing. It's what we've done our whole lives. But it definitely do not want to take away from the performance that we've all been able to accomplish at 1,000 feet. It's been close racing, the drivers involved in it, and we are trying to make everything safer as well. So they're in a situation like this, we need to take opinions and facts from all ends and kind of put it together. And, I hope that the NHRA kind of gets some of the other racers like Steve's team involved in the decision making and not just ask a few guys. And we'd be willing to show them data from our match races as well, and to make a correct call, because we all want more fans at the track, and we want the sport to keep going, because it's how we all make a living and it's how we enjoy our lives. So I'm always open ears, and but thank everybody for watching us and following us. There's so many good fans up at Epping too.
So true. It was a great weekend, a whole lot of fun. All right, Dom, thank you very much. Enjoy the All-Star game this week, and then second half, New York Yankees, it gets real serious.
Yep, go Yankees.
Go Yankees. Thanks, Dom.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Dom. Dom Lagana with us here on WFO Radio, giving his thoughts on the 1,000-foot quarter-mile discussion that has re-emerged. I'll give you some thoughts later on in the show during my time, and it is interesting. I'm just trying to avoid giving a not well-thought-out opinion. That's what I'm doing. It's so easy these days for people to spring into an opinion, right? Just instantly. Oh, this or oh, that. I think everybody jumps the gun on just about everything. But I do have some points and thoughts about things that I am weighing as I consider it. And we'll talk about that during my time, because we're 10 years in to the 1,000-foot era. And now this is being floated. So, whoa, all right, we're going to discuss it. And we'll discuss it during my time. And, of course, I want your opinion. I would like for each of you to write out a deep email and a well-thought-out email. And I know some of you have been calling into the show. I know Jeff Rice has called into the show a couple of times. And on the wide-open line, 954-889-6796. And we've gotten some emails from listeners out there. I appreciate it. And we'll throw those all in one big show at some point. Your opinions on quarter mile are greatly appreciated. What do you think? What do you think? But please base it on all the new information, which I will throw it out there at the tail end of the show. Right now, though, as we got John Deflorian and Tii Tharpe coming up next, right now I want to tell you about Hengstefers Laboratories, Hengstefers Metalworking Lubricants, 800-433-LUBE. Hengstefers has more than 100 affiliates throughout the world. It's a global network that's perfectly integrated with their research, development, and manufacturing facilities to offer you the best available. What they do is improve your needs and your metalworking processes. Hengstefers manufactures a highly refined line of petroleum, synthetic, and vegetable-based products so that your machine shop can run more effectively, more efficiently, your tools will last longer, your cuts will be better, and everything that you do in the metalworking arena will be top-notch. And all you have to do is look at the people who get the job done and use Hengstefers, JFR and DSR and others. They've been around since 1937 and do some of the best work in the business. They've got a long history of time-tested technologies, products that meet and exceed your expectations, and the family name is on everything they market. We're talking about Hengstefers. They've got products free of boron and chlorine and hydrocarbons. They got non-foaming coolants and cutting oils, everything you need in your machine shop, your factory, wherever you need cutting oils and lubricants. Go to Hengstefers.com, 800-433-LUBE, and tell them you heard about it on WFO Radio. All right, when we come back, we're going to do Mountain Motor Pro Stock with John Deflorian, immediately followed by Tii Tharpe and Mickey Thompson, Top Fuel Harley-Davidson.
This is WFO Radio.
Hey everybody, Joe here, and I hereby decree on behalf of the WFO universe, the summer is here, and that means it's time to grill. Get yourself some Rodax Coffee and Grills.com, barbecue, spice rub, hot sauce, and of course, incredible coffee. They've got the WFO Radio Blend, they've got the Bang the Blower, they've got the Exotics. It's all roasted fresh per your order, representing the top 5% of coffee throughout the world. Go to RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com or give Marvin a call. 817-924-6821 for RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com.
Android and iPhone users, download the WFO Radio app. It's sports radio for racing fans.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
The ultimate racing show, including WFO Radio NHRA Nitro, WFO Radio Ignition, the WFO Radio NASCAR Tailgate Party, news, videos, push notifications, and more.
I just hope I'm part of it.
Go to the App Store or Android Market. Search WFO Radio and download it now.
Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. Whether you're a bracket racer who wants to get better or a thrill seeker looking to cross it off your bucket list, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School can put you on the right track. Don't believe me? Tell him, Frank.
No matter how little or how much experience you have, we've got a program for you. So if driving a dragster is on your bucket list, there's no better time than now. And if you'd like to be a pro, well, here's funny car champ, Jack Beckman. Hey, this is Jack Beckman. Long before I was Fast Jack, I was a bracket racer who went to the Frank Hawley School. The time I spent there was some of the most exciting, intense, and fulfilling moments ever in a race car. I feel the curriculum Frank developed greatly helped me win not only the Super Comp, but also the NHRA Nitro Funny Car Championship. Frank put me on the right track. What are you waiting for?
Call them at 866-480-7223. That's 866-480-7223. Or visit frankhawley.com.
Now back to WFO Radio NHRA Nitro.
Let's keep on going here on NHRA Nitro. Hopefully you listen to the show every week and you're subscribed and you wrote a review, all that great stuff. We try our best. Had a great Ignition show, a whole lot of fun. Talked sports collision, talked about the home run derby, all-star game, of course, and Justin Haley winning his first NASCAR race, all kinds of great stuff. That one's all entertainment. This one is hardcore nuts and bolts. How great was Dom Lagana talking about the quarter-mile stuff? Well, let's get back into the winners with John Deflorian, Tii Tharpe coming up, starting with Mountain Motor Pro Stock. Joining us now, he was the Mountain Motor Pro Stock winner out there at the New England Nationals. He got the job done, and he joins us now. John Deflorian. John, welcome back to WFO. We are hearing from you a lot. This Mountain Motor thing has been really good to you.
Oh, man, it's great to be back on with you, Joe. I really look forward to talking to you. It's always a good time. And you know what? It's awesome, even more awesome to be able to be back on. We were fortunate enough to win that race, and I'm on cloud nine today. I got to be honest. The drive home was 1,300 miles, and I don't know that I touched the ground the whole way home.
That's awesome. Now, but two wins, both on red lights. What are you doing to these guys in the final round?
Yeah, I got the voodoo, I think, going on them. I got my little pincushion dolls out of them, and I'm getting them, I guess.
Well, exactly.
I think it's we've been fortunate that the car's been pretty fast and consistent, and obviously when you're in that situation on the other side, that that you got to be on top of your game, and for me, it's paid off because ironically, it's wound up with 2 red lights. And here's another really interesting twist. The first red light was an 010 red. That red light yesterday was an 010 red. So pretty bizarre deal for me anyway. I thought it was pretty crazy.
Do. Yeah, weird.
Exactly. Twilight Zone.
but so now the Mountain Motor season is pretty much behind us, if my schedule is correct. And how do you think it went? Looking back, I felt like you educated me personally. Like everybody needs to know, we did a social media piece with John that's going to air this week. I think it's going to be great. It might have been Facebook Live earlier on, but the bottom line is there was a lot of information for us all to learn. Those of us who have been, kind of on the 500 cubic inch side. What about you, the fans, the experience running an NHRA? It was a concept last year at Indy, and now it's a reality. And you got your season in the books. How do you think it went?
I don't think it could have gone any better. To be totally honest with you, it was way, way more than I anticipated. It was off the charts. NHRA couldn't have been any better with us. The NHRA fans were amazing. I mean, those folks just went crazy over these cars. They came down, they thoroughly took it in, and they're just blown away at how fast these cars are. From what they've been used to seeing for so many years, and they come into the pit area. We bring everybody in. We don't rope off them. We bring them in, and when they see the engines in these cars, they're every one of them say the same thing. Man, look at the size of that engine. They can't believe how big they are. So I don't know that it could have gone any better. It went over really well. I think even more so than NHRA was expecting, and most certainly it was way more popular than what we were expecting. We were hoping that they would just kind of accept us, and it seems that they did more than accept us. They've taken us in and really embraced the class.
It's funny that you say that. I hear, the social media accounts that are out there, people on Facebook, they really have a incorrect view of the NHRA fan/worker, employee, management, that, there's an us versus them and outsider. I think we love drag racers. And if you guys are showing up and bring cars, whether it be the Mickey Thompson Top Fuel Harleys or whether it be Mountain Motor Pro Stock or whether it be some of this small tire stuff, whatever the car is, man, you guys are working hard, spending money to put on a show. Yes, the answer is yes. And I think that's what the NHRA has done. I don't know why it has surprised some, because that's the mentality now, at least.
Yes, I would agree. I would have to agree with you. It's quite a different, environment with the NHRA these days, and they are very welcoming and willing to experiment and try bringing in, like Nitro Harleys and the small tire guys, and then, now like us. And we're thankful. We're very thankful and grateful that we're given this opportunity to kind of display our wares in this venue and at this level. The exposure has been tremendous. We've gotten a little splash on FS1, pretty good stuff, actually, a lot of coverage there. And, man, it's just been amazing. My phone blows up, my social media stuff blows up whenever this stuff gets on. So, there's a lot of people watching, a lot of people following, and I don't know that there's anybody negative about it. Everybody seems to be 100% behind it.
I know you're in a limited battery situation. Everybody, John, is, toned back battery. Everybody texting him, sending him pics, all that stuff of what's going on the television. But I do want your opinion on, potential downsides. All right, like, for instance, Pro Modified. We saw Pro Modified go from this crazy grassroots, backtrack, crazy situation to now one of the most intense competitions on the planet, and evolution happening very quickly. Like, what was acceptable 10 years ago in Pro Mod, no longer acceptable. Mountain Motor Pro Stock, from what I understand, you guys pretty much buy an engine, put it together, and it's good to go, and you tune it and you work on it, as opposed to constant refining of manifolds and cam grinds and always looking for power and making all different cylinder heads and throwing half of them away because they don't work. Do you think that's going to happen to Mountain Motor as you guys continue in the NHRA?
Well, it's a delicate balance, because we're hoping that doesn't happen, and there's some things being put into place now to try to keep it from getting out of control, because that's one of the reasons this class has been as good as it has for so long, is because it has been somewhat manageable financially. So we don't want to see it be stunted. We don't want to keep growth, because you got to have growth. That's what moves us forward, and but we have to manage it and try to keep it from getting out of control. From the monetary side. So there's a conscious effort being put forth from NHRA to try to figure out some things that can be put in place right now before we get to that point. So I'm pretty optimistic that we'll continue to see growth in performance, but in a manageable manner, that it won't kill everybody as far as financially, and keep this thing where we can keep coming out here and doing what we're doing.
Very exciting, and I agree. It's interesting to see what, competition improves the breed, but also increases the cost and investment. And so we got to have balance.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's really cool about the class is that we've got a great mix. I mean, we got Mustangs out here, Fords, obviously the Chevrolets. You even got Dodge out there, and maybe a couple of them. And it's good to have that, from a spectator or fan standpoint. Way back when I was young, we'd be sitting in the grandstands, and the announcers would get everybody so lathered up they're ready to fight, because they'd be up there saying, okay, who wants to see the Dodge kick the Ford's butt? And who wants to see the Ford kick the Chevy's rear end? And that got people fired up. So it's good to have that. It's exciting, and we hear it in the pit area. We hear it. We hear people coming by saying, man, I love seeing all the different cars and Fords and Chevys, and guys out there with hood scoops. I mean, you can't believe how many people have come and mentioned the hood scoop specifically. It's so good to see the hood scoops on these cars. They should have hood scoops on them, and we do, and we will, and that won't change. So that's another little thing that keeps us a little different from everybody else, or from at least the 500-inch guys, I should say. And these cars are wild. Their wheels up in the air. I mean, they're hitting cones. They're doing all kinds of stuff, and let's face it, man. When you're sitting in the grandstands, that's a lot of fun to watch. You don't want to see nobody crash, but I mean, if they're out there with the front ends in the air and they clip a cone here and there, it's pretty entertaining.
Well, that is. It's got to be hard to drive. What happened with Elijah, where he was going to cross the center line and then he wasn't, and then he did. It's that's amazing stuff.
Yeah, and that was a cool thing because he's fighting. I mean, he's fighting this car. He's trying to hang on to it with everything he has because he wants to get that round win, and he's trying to get it down there. But these things make god awful amounts of power, and I mean they're making as much power down track as anything, and they are a handful. And you're in and out of that throttle. You're trying to tame this beast underneath your feet and hope you get it to the other end. So I can tell you from the driver standpoint, there's nothing in my view that's any more fun to drive. I mean, this is a driver's car. I mean, you're shifting this thing, you're driving it, you're steering it, the wheels are in the air. It's exciting, and I think as exciting as this for us as drivers, the fans are that much excited about it as well because they do get to see these cars doing what they're doing.
Totally agree. It has been fun. It has been educational, and it's good to know, got a couple guys like yourself who are willing to educate me and the audience and people, from jump, as if we do not know anything, which is pretty accurate. But we are learning a lot every time you're out. What's the plan for the rest of the year? What are you going to do? Obviously, shop foreman, Jerry Haas race cars, so working on chassis and all of that. What are you going to do race-wise?
Yeah, we're real busy at the shop trying to get some cars out. I got a couple brand new cars today. We're trying to get out the door here in the next day or two, so that's a good thing. And then, I'm trying to figure out what to do. I'm not used to be thinking that we're at the beginning of July and my season's over with. So we'll probably try to sneak off and do some 8th mile racing over at the PDRA and get out a few more times this year and have some fun. And then continue to focus our efforts on the NHRA program for next year. We're really excited about it. It looks like there's a good possibility we're going to have some additional races next year, and so we want to get focused on that and try to be ready to go when we get the call that we're on.
Excellent stuff, John. Thank you again for being so forthcoming and inviting and friendly to us. To come in and learn about what's going on, showing us the cockpit of the race car and the engine and just everything and explaining, like all the details. That was very helpful to me in telling the story of Mountain Motor Pro Stock this past weekend. And so thank you for that, and thank you for coming on WFO. Congratulations, couple wins on the year. I don't know if you were keeping track in points or how that worked, but with 2 race wins, you're the only 2-time race winner, correct?
Yeah, that's true. I had a pretty interesting call there Sunday from Bobby Bennett, and he had mentioned that obviously we're the only 2-time winner. He said, but you technically won the championship. And I said, well, we didn't have a championship. He says, I don't care if they have one officially or not. He said, you won because you got 2 wins, and we had a couple semifinals. And so that made me feel really good because I hadn't thought about it in that context. So that's pretty exciting stuff for us.
I agree.
And having you come in and do what you're doing for us, I could never thank you enough. I love the opportunity to teach and show people what we have and what we do, and sitting in the cockpit and doing the thing we did the other day, explaining this. I love it, and I want to do it every time I can. Whether it's just a handful of spectators that come by, or whether it's a camera crew that wants to shoot a piece, because I think that's a good thing for us to get the word out and also educate folks of what's going on and how busy the driver is in one of these cars. So anytime we get a chance to do that, we'll do it. And again, could never thank you enough. Appreciate, Joe, everything you've done for us.
Oh, well, likewise and in return. But, hey, I hear the sounds of a shop in the background. That sounds pretty cool. What's going on right around you right now?
Yeah, what's really cool, I mentioned here a minute ago, we got 2 brand new cars going together right now. We got a new car for a 500-inch car, actually, an NHRA Pro Stock car for McGahey. And we've got right next to it one for Glenn Teets. It's a top sportsman car, 69 Firebird, really good-looking car, and with big motor, nitrous, and whatnot. So, yeah, it's really neat. Got a lot of different things going on at one time, which makes it fun. It's exciting to have these different projects. And, guys coming to pick these things up. We're going to try to get these out of here this week, actually. They got to both leave. So we get them out there and let them go out. I'd say the McGahey car you can probably see within the next few races or so. But good stuff. Good stuff. Whenever you're building race cars in the daytime and getting to work on your own race car stuff at night, I don't know that I'm living a dream life. I'd be honest, man. I cannot believe the fortunes I had of being able to do what I love to do and I'm so passionate about. And, the good Lord's blessed me to be able to have this opportunity.
Well, rightfully so. Rightfully so. You're a good guy. And, right from jump, we could all tell that, just the way you celebrated that first win, and it carried on through. Yeah, the unofficial but official season champion in Mountain Motor Pro Stock, John Deflorian. John, thank you so much. Thanks for what you do. Thanks for coming on the show, and congratulations on a great year.
Thank you very much, Joe. Great seeing you at the track. Great talking to you today, and look forward to talking to you a whole bunch more in the future, buddy.
Thank you, John. John Deflorian, Mountain Motor Pro Stock winner, with us here on WFO Radio. And this was a very interesting race in that we had our two regular Nitro categories, Top Fuel and Funny Car. We had Mountain Motor Pro Stock, and we had Mickey Thompson, Top Fuel Harley, another Nitro category. And the winner from Top Fuel Harley joins us now, Tii Tharpe, race winner, 3 in a row, points the leader. Tii, it's been a good run for you.
Yes, absolutely. It was a good event, a good last 3 events, and I'm just a little overwhelmed, honestly.
Listen, let's forget about all the race win stuff. Which superpower did you get when your spark plug wire came off and started shocking you and running all that voltage through your body at over 200 miles per hour? That sounds like the way superheroes get their powers in the comic books. So you must have some sort of superpower. What is it?
I don't know. The conductivity. It was. I guess I was the Flash or something, man. It really got my attention. I'll tell you that. We've it's happened to just about everybody out there, and I joined the club, and hopefully I'm good for now.
I'm going to ask you.
Makes you think about.
A dumb question.
Think about tethers.
Well, exactly. A dumb question, but I mean, extremely painful. Like on a 1 to 10, are we talking pain? Are we talking annoyance? Are we talking like loss of bodily control? I watched you. You're on the bike. You're trying to stay on the bike, but you're trying to get away from it. Take me through that experience. It had to be horrible, but it's the kind of thing that I want to learn from your horrible experience.
Sure. And I would say that, it's all 3. It was annoying and it was very painful. Luckily I must have been in a really good spot in my day, and I feel like you would have lost control of things. And there was no hiccups there, thank goodness. But, it really it got my attention, absolutely. The first thing, I almost thought that a tube had cracked, like in the chassis. There was a big crack sound, and that's when it hit me the first time and knocked my hand off the bar a little bit. Whether where it knocked it off or I let go, I couldn't say. But then it became very apparent what was happening, and I just was trying to. Luckily, I got hit about the time the chute came out, and so I scrubbed some speed off and. Was really just trying to get slowed down and get my body off the chassis and try to get to a spot where I could get to the ignition switch. And I finally did. But I tell you what, man, it definitely grabbed a hold of me. MSD, what we use on there is pretty substantial. It's not a mag, but, it's got an inductive and a capacitive side. And, I believe it was the capacitive side that got me, because the inductive, it looks like there's enough juice there to really, really do some damage. But, it's something that I wouldn't mind starting to investigate some ways that if you make an error that we could tether it, or, just to reduce the likelihood of it happening more. Because I was just very fortunate all weekend, but definitely in that case that it didn't come off the motorcycle and that it didn't grab me any harder.
Well, absolutely. And Ricky House you said everybody has done it. As we learn more about these Top Fuel Harleys, we learn what you guys go through. And Ricky House told me flat out on the start line, it's happened to me, man. It happens. It's something that's something that happens. And so with all the other machines that go down the track on a regular basis at the NHRA, they learn from these things. And if it's, you mentioned tethers, I guess a plug wire tether or whatever we would be tethering, maybe that's a good thing. We don't want you to have to go through that again.
No, I definitely don't want to. And, if I had to, I would hope that it was in the first couple of feet, not the last few, because, when a hand comes up or you want to raise up at all, at the big end of the track's just not the place to do it. It will suck you off. And that ends up bad. almost always. And so it was definitely shocking. And I just have whenever you think not that you can't gain more respect, but that, you learn something new all the time. And I definitely learned something.
Well, I did a quick search for superheroes with electrical powers, fictional characters with electric or magnetic abilities, and just a couple that are really cool. Aftershock. There's a good one. Maybe your new and next nickname is somehow wrapped in this.
You never know. I am looking for a new nickname. I've been Timmy for so long that maybe we step up to something a little better.
Yeah, exactly. Magneto, Livewire. There's a bunch of really good ones out there. You could definitely incorporate into the machine. But I'm most importantly glad you're okay. Final round. Let's talk about it. You and Ricky. Good race, really. Most importantly, right? Isn't that what we all want to see? Getting down the track with these bikes, very challenging. And the good, solid, consistent competition is what we want. You gave us a great race in that final round, a 39 to a 42. You came out on top.
I did. And I got to, give it all to, definitely to God, because I'm not beat up or anything, but, certainly to the whole crew and all the sponsors. I don't feel like that it was my best piece of riding all weekend. I know it wasn't. And fortunately enough, Rex had given me a good enough tune-up to make up for my shortcomings. And Ricky left on me a little bit, and I made that up pretty quickly. And it was a good run. The first round was, I think, 8 feet, and it looks like the last round, me and Ricky, was about 4 feet. And so it was definitely great racing.
So looking at the point standings, you have got 451 points. Bo has got 410, so you're able to get around him now. 3 races in a row, 3 wins in a row. That is a huge deal, and you got the job done. But there are 3 races remaining. Seattle, Brainerd, Indy. Last year, nobody knows better than you how those races can swing a championship. You and Doug Vansel. I mention it every time you guys come up because it was so exciting, to watch the points swing. And I know that Doug would love to turn the tables on you and go in the other direction this year.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. He's definitely hungry, fierce competitor, and him, Bo, Ricky. I don't believe anybody's out. Not in the top 4 or 5. And based on my experience, the 3 races that's you're on the home straight, but it's a long one. And if I've won 3 in a row, that means that potential is out there for anyone to do. And you never know how the cards will fall.
Simple as that. And hey, what's up with these folks at Samson Exhaust stepping up and helping you out?
Man, the whole crew there has just been great. Mike Baverstock, his partner, and all the employees there. They reached out at the beginning of the season, and just a real solid partnership has developed, and it's something that we're real appreciative of. And so far, it's been mutually beneficial, and I believe that's the way that these partnerships are supposed to go. And as long as we can keep doing that, then hopefully we can keep doing that season after season.
That is great. It has been a lot of fun to watch so far. Ty, thank you very much. Electro, there's one. And I'm looking at these things. There's a bunch of them. You need to go on and check it out and pick your new nickname so that this experience can be more than just something that happened.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Ty. Appreciate it. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
Tii Tharpe with us here on WFO Radio. All right, here's the deal. We are going to take a quick break. John Deflorian, awesome. Look for all that stuff on social media. Tii Tharpe, I like Aftershock, I think needs to be the name. Aftershock. That's great stuff. But when we come back, I'm going to delve into this quarter-mile deal, give you my thoughts. And, I used to kind of shy away from giving my opinions because giving opinions means people are going to hate you. It's really what it is. I'll give you an opinion, but it's on a different show, typically. That's what Ignition is all about. I'll burn something to the ground. I don't care. I've got some very strong and very controversial opinions about a lot of stuff out there. People. But NHRA Nitro is a show that is, generally positive. I like to keep it positive on this show. Positive energy, all that. But don't get me wrong. I'll burn someone to the ground if I have to. But that's not what we're going to do here. We're going to try to weigh some things. Talk about some things and then end off with a positive message. In fact, I'll probably start off with the positive message with a little story about Bob Kuhar when we come back right here on WFO.
It ain't just wide open. It's WFO.
Start your education at full speed with the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Accelerate your career as a high-performance engine builder with classroom instruction and practical hands-on experience in the lab, on the dyno, and at the track. In addition to the block, head, and CNC programs, SAM now offers motorsport, EFI tuning, and an Associates of Applied Science degree. And SAM is a military-friendly school, approved to train veterans and other eligible persons under the GI Bill. Start your education at full speed. Go to samtech.edu today.
Hussey Performance Copperhead Gaskets. You got to call David directly. 724-318-8292. Hussey Performance Copperhead Gaskets for you engine builders out there. These guys are supporting WFO. Check them out. It is husseyperformance.net.
Hey, this is Scott Palmer, driver of the NHRA Cat Spot Litter Top Fuel Dragster. Do you have a cat? Go to catspotlitter.com. Order it today. All natural product made out of coconuts. 100% biodegradable. All you NHRA cat owners, support our team. Go to catspotlitter.com.
Hankstafers Metalworking Lubricants. You got to go to the website and check them out. And so go to hankstafers.com to find out more information. Hankstafers Metalworking Lubricants, trying to make you a little more efficient in the shop.
This is Jeff Rice, a.k.a. Deep and Hot. I just want to let you know that NHRA Nitro is probably the best coverage of NHRA drag racing, period. How can you not like a 3.5-hour broadcast with all the winners specifically for drag racing? WFO rules the airwaves.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
Final segment, NHRA Nitro podcast, fresh back from New England. We did an Ignition show earlier this week, and hopefully you're all subscribed. Here's the thing, everybody. Time keeps on ticking into the future, right? And things are always changing, evolving, getting better, getting worse, getting better again, that kind of deal. And everybody is just very, very busy, and there's so much going on. We could really spend a whole lot of time talking about just keeping up with keeping up. It's really a great challenge. I always try to find the positive side of everything. It doesn't mean I am not susceptible to negativity. I am. There's all of us have got a negative side, and sometimes we let our negative energy out, and I get it. Social media, I joke about it being a toilet for negativity because people got to push it out there and they put it on social media and then they forget about it, but then everybody else has to, deal with it, right? The stench. And it's kind of a sad thing what's happening with everybody. But then again, you go out there and you meet people and you see them in the real life, in the real world, and it's generally positive and it makes us wonder about, even getting rid of all social media. But then how would we let you know the show is on the air? What am I getting at here? Well, it's a little deeper than that. We're going to talk about the quarter mile thing. But first, there's earthquakes in California. I know no one was hurt, but man, that was a lot of property damage, a lot of people. All of a sudden, they're getting ready for the weekend, and no, you're not. Now you're worrying about the pipes in your house broken, and what are you going to do? And I certainly hope everyone is okay. I want the best for those people, that kind of thing. That's like macro. But then you find out somebody that has just passed away. They're fighting cancer. And you know them, and they're dead. And it's really terrible. And I don't want to pretend like Bob Kuhar and I were the best pals or anything. It's not like that. It was just like good time situations, drag races and parties and fun stuff like that. He had a great attitude. But here's the story. When I first got involved with the NHRA, I met Bob early on, right? And Bob and Cousin Donnie and that crew that... They are, DHR, and they're very nice to me. Not everybody is very nice to me. I want you to know that. Not everybody just is friendly right away. Some people are standoffish and challenging, and so when I meet someone that is just right away positive and gets it and like realizes I mean no harm. And in fact, it's quite the opposite. I mean positive things, and I have a good attitude and like to, party and have fun. I'm totally down, and it's great. And we hung out in the zoo a couple of years and had a good time, and I appreciate everything that they did. Well, when Bob got his deal, following along, I see him at the race and watching him fight. It was admirable to watch him fight and seeing the posts on social media, good day, bad day, tough day, getting better, fighting this thing, positive motivation was really great. But here's the deal, is that 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, honestly, the travel in my life has made me not really aware of what day it is. I have kind of lost track of schedule, weeks, months, days, times, hours. It's been the most challenging thing that I've had to deal with, is keeping track of everything I need to do and to do it, and coming and going, not being home, living out of hotels. That's something that Alan Reinhart talks about all the time. Love this life. I deal with the life because I love drag racing and I love what I do, but it's actually very challenging for me. 3 weeks ago, I saw Bob Kuhar make a post on Facebook that said something along the lines of having a tough time right now and, really need some positive motivation. And I tell you that I read it, I saw it, I thought this thought. I should call him right now. The Facebook caller thing. I don't have his number. I just through Facebook. I don't know if you guys know that, but Facebook messaging, some of the interviews I'm doing, I just call people right through the Facebook. And it works pretty well. It's pretty great, FYI. And I thought man, I should call him right now. And I didn't. I didn't because I was busy. I didn't because I was doing other stuff. I didn't because I was just consumed and overwhelmed with stuff, with things. Was he just posting that? Did he want to talk at the time? Was he not feeling good? I don't know. I rationalized myself out of making the call. I did that. And I don't feel too good about it right now. I should have made the call. Regret. One of the things that I just really want to avoid more than anything in my life is regret. Things I should have done that I didn't do. People I should have told, what's up? Gave positive energy, tried to lift them up as best as I could in that moment for as long as I could with whatever I had. Because why would you not? And I didn't. For whatever reason, got distracted. I couldn't tell you what it was right now. I know that I sat there and I thought the thought and I didn't follow through. And I'm annoyed and sad. But what I will do is, it's a small thing from my perspective. But I want to share that with you so that you don't do it and that I don't do it again. When you think about that, some sort of thought, you got someone in need, someone that you know and care about in any way, and you think that I'm going to do something. You need to do it. I should have done it. I made a mistake. Big mistake. Terrible. Now, I have positive intentions, and I'm okay with that. But real life story of failing to do something that would have been nice. And so I'm sharing that with you now so that you don't make that same mistake. Your mom. When was the last time you called your mom? Your dad, your family, your brother, your cousin that you were buddies with, but back in the day and you're too busy. Right? That old friend of yours that you haven't reached out to, that they've got a kid and you haven't seen him or something. There's hundreds of those examples because life is so challenging right now. It has to do with money and making money, and no one has time to make enough money, and the hours go by so rapidly. And it's a great challenge to just keep up on the wheel of life. And for some people, make no mistake, I get it. Some people, it's easy. They just take to it, like the duck to water. They make money easily. They handle time and schedule, and they have more time than they need, and they go out and they have a back shop and they build a birdhouse. And how the heck do you have time to build a birdhouse when it's taken everything that I've got just to make enough money and do enough cool things and interact with enough people to live? And I'm complaining. I'm not complaining. There are people who work at the grocery store. They've got 8, 9, 10-hour shifts. They're up at 8. They're back at 6. They're taking care of kids. No time. There's no time. But you got to make time. Got to figure out how to make time, because you never know when your time is going to be up. And it might not be you. It might be somebody else. It might be somebody you just barely know who's a good time person that has been positive energy in your life. It might be someone that you really care about. You just don't know. So you got to do what you can do. And that's what I want to say about Bob Kuhar. Good guy. And, what can you say? Just he fought like hell. And if that ever happens to me, I will use him as an inspiration for how I will fight as hard as I can. Because you never know. Nobody thinks it's going to be them until it is. All right, let's move on. I mentioned the earthquakes. Obviously, those folks out there, terrible about the property damage. But let's transition back into, this quarter-mile thing, okay? This is a ripe opportunity for me to stay absolutely on the fence. Just get out the way and let the professionals make their decision and not address this issue, because it is complex, it is challenging, and all I can do by getting involved is cause problems. That is a great way to look at the quarter-mile issue. That having been said, I'm going to wade into it a little bit. Because I love the sport of drag racing, and I do a weekly podcast for the last 10 years, just about, and the entire 1,000-foot era. And I want to tie it all in. In 2008, Yankee Stadium was classic Yankee Stadium, the old Yankee Stadium. And my friends and I made a pilgrimage to see the old Yankee Stadium. It was like 15 of us, and we came from all parts of the country to say goodbye to the house that Ruth built. And it was my dad, and it was my friends, and it was a big, big deal planning a trip for all these people and getting tickets to go see the Yankees. And it's crazy, but that weekend we found out that my uncle, who did not live in Florida, had lived in the mountains of North Carolina, and my dad, being older, travels rarely, kind of an old school guy. Like, travel is a really pain, real big deal to get, my parents to go anywhere on planes and airports. It's just challenging, old school. And so we had this trip planned. Well, days before the trip, day before, the day before, I found out my uncle had passed away. And so now, would we be going up to handle things around that? And it was very emotional, but we decided to go on our Yankee trip because, it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And we did. And we went on the Yankee trip, and everything else worked itself out, but it was, it was an emotional situation. While we were up there, it was the weekend of Englishtown, where Scott Coletta was killed. So being in New York metro area, being on something that was big and fun and positive, me and my dad, me and all my friends, I was a little bit insulated from it, but saw photos on the front pages of newspapers and saw what was going on. Remember, the context of social media and digital and iPhone, I did not have one at that time, etc. So, the rapid nature with which we are hammered with stuff was not nearly as intense as it is right now. And so was on the outside of the sport at that point. And I was a quarter-mile guy and always loved quarter-mile. I remember Garlits. I've shared this story 100 times. Garlits in the museum telling me we needed to go to 1,000 foot. And then Scott Coletta was killed, and then we went to 1,000 foot. And so I was okay with it pretty much from the very beginning. Sad about quarter-mile. Always believed in quarter-mile, but the logic and the reasoning that was given for switching from quarter-mile to 1,000 foot absolutely resonated with me. Okay, this is what we're doing now. And I embraced it. If they make the track 1,500 feet, I'm going to go there. And if they make the track 660 feet, I'm going to go there. I like the sound and the smell and the sport and the strategy and the tech. I'm going. I am a drag racing fan. I love the sport. I love the people. I love stock, super street, all classes. People who say pro stock is boring, like, well, you're not a drag racing fan then. You're a pro mod drag racing fan or a Top Fuel drag racing fan, but you're not like a drag racing fan. I'm a drag racing fan. I like Sportsman Eliminator ET bracket racing off the bottom bulb and 19-second pickup trucks drag racing fan. Is it no prep? Is it what is? As long as it's legal, I'm a drag racing fan. So when situations like this arise, I am, I think my opinion is going to be on point. I think I'm going to have the right opinion. And so here is mine on this to this point. First, I am going to watch and listen as the debate is works out. Watch and listen. I do not tune one of these cars. I do not drive one of these cars. I have a job that is involved with interviewing those people. I have already talked to many people. The downside is vast. The upside, what is it? What is the upside? Let's talk upside. The upside of quarter mile is that some people that might not be coming to the racetrack right now might come back. That's the upside. The upside is that some people that might not be watching might start watching again. When it comes to the upside of going back to 1,320 feet, I think it's pretty limited. Number one, how do you quantify who those people are? It's been 10 years. So since quarter mile has gone away, we have worked very hard to make 1,000-foot drag racing entertaining. We have worked very hard to make 1,000-foot drag racing oil down free or as limited as possible. And the racing has gotten quicker, faster, better, closer than it had been at 1,320 feet. Granted, different era. The 1,320-foot gamble is based on the thought that there are so many people that became disgruntled at the 1,000-foot era that it's going to make a difference in the finances of the sport. More people coming to the racetrack for the big quarter-mile return. People who have given up on the sport because on TV, 1,000-foot is not what they're looking for. And do they exist? Do those people really exist? How do we know they're not watching the sport? How do we know they're even out there? It's been 10 years. How old were they? Do they care anymore? Do they watch anymore? Do they have money anymore? Do they want to come anymore? I don't know. So we're going to create a couple of races. Why? Well, maybe they'll come back. Maybe they won't come back. Maybe you'll have to deal with the downside. First of all, I don't think those people exist. I don't think, what are our TV numbers? Are we going to get an extra 200,000 people? Are we going to get an extra 500,000 people because of 0.6 of 1 second at the end of the racetrack? I really find it hard to believe. Now, someone might make a fantastic argument to me, and that's what I'm open for, that those people exist. But I really think those people are out there already, and I really think that anybody who couldn't understand why we made the change, who saw what happened, who heard the analysis, who realized that the tracks were very fast and the shutdowns were perhaps too short. And so by taking 320 feet off the end of the racetrack and adding that same 320 feet to the shutdown area, you solve two problems. And since that time, we have had a run of relative safety. The person that claims to be the fan that says, Screw that. I won't watch unless I get my quarter-mile drag racing. I personally am willing to let them go. I don't think there's that many of them. And the ones that have that attitude, I can live without. That's me, because of the potential downside. What is the potential downside? Now I will talk about some things on the potential downside that clearly are, the most obvious stuff I will not even bother to mention. Won't even mention it. What if? Let's go to finances. We are going, as Lex June, Audrey Worm, Cameron Foray, and Terry Haddock, by adding 1 or 2 quarter-mile drag races that they now have to adapt to, is that going to help them in the course of a season? I don't think so. For Don Schumacher Racing, with their teams, Leah Pritchett was not there this weekend. Is it going to be beneficial for them to have to adapt to a 1 or 2 off style of racing? That going to benefit them? How are they going to figure it out? It's been 10 years. Everything has evolved. Everything is different. They're going to have to test. Where are they going to test? How are they going to test? How much is it going to cost them to test for these couple of races? Dom Lagana said a couple of things that I specifically asked him to not give his opinion because I don't want him in the middle of it. But running down a track in a match race for a show and competing are 2 totally different scenarios. It's going to cost a lot of money. And judging by what I'm seeing right now, the teams are maybe more cash strapped than ever. I know the economy is booming, but when I talk to people who are buying and selling parts and saying, they say it's a tough deal to get sponsors out there, that sponsorship's tough right now. I know that doesn't jibe with the news, but that's what people say. So we're going to take a couple of races and make them one-offs to add 0.6 of a second to the end of the track to try to please people that we don't know exist. Because the people who like 1,000 foot and appreciate it are already there. Not to mention the couple of races that they're saying, the tracks that can handle it, Gainesville, Indy, already get great crowds. So what are we trying to do? We're going to get an extra 5,000 people, an extra 2,000 people. You're going to get everybody to come out. You can get everybody to come out anyway. By doing cool promotions, by hyping it up, by having great racing. So in my case here, I feel like the downside currently outweighs the upside. So I'm starting this investigative process on the negative. Everybody, you can say, oh, I'm neutral. Yeah, are you really neutral? Some people are, yes, definitely, do it. Do it everywhere. Do it as much as we can. Okay, I respect that. You're going to have to prove to me why. My starting position on this negotiation is no. Just spent 10 years convincing every drag racing fan that 1,000 foot was necessary for a reason. And now it's not. Okay. 1,500 feet. I'm there. You want to do a 2-mile track? Let's go. I'm there. But based on my understanding and the information that I have and what I'm thinking about, what does that look like oil down wise? All these teams trying to figure out how to go back to 1,320 feet and beat the guy next to them. Is that a clean race? Or is that an oil fest? Well, we got oil retention. That's true. That's true. Certain tracks are very long. Arizona, very long. You go out into the desert. Gainesville, long. There's tracks that are long. When Dom Lagana ran that 448 or whatever he ran, I was there. I was doing that Menard Chevy series for Masters and watched it and felt like it was neat, but didn't in any way fundamentally change my appreciation for what was going on at all. Zero. In fact, it kind of sounded like it was lugging a little bit. Everything was slightly less intense. Can you imagine if wholesale changes are made to the cars to go back to 1,320 feet, and then the experience is less powerful? If the punch in the gut is less intense? You think that the people who were annoyed by the safety reasons behind going to 1,000 foot went away? What are you going to do if all of a sudden a top fueler doesn't feel like a top fueler anymore? And it's just like, oh, good people to ask would be the Formula One fans who, when they lost the V8s and they switched to those capped turbo cars, there was no sound. That was a problem. So I'm not closed-minded to this. If they make a decision, I'm going to be there. If I'm invited by the NHRA to go announce, I will be there. If it's a race and I got to pay to get in, I will be there. I will watch. I will go with my dad, or I will tell him about it. I will be there. That having all been said, doing a cost-benefit analysis rapidly in my head, I think that the costs exceed the benefits. And I don't know if this is the big thing that's going to, grow the sport back to where we need to be, to bring in sponsors, to bring in racers, to bring in TV advertisers, to get eyeballs on the sport. To me, I don't know. I don't see it. So that's where I start off. Please educate me with your opinions. Joe at WFOradio.com. Please provide me with some benefits and some upside, some interesting reasons why those things outweigh the added cost, the added testing, the detriment to those events as well. People try to figure it out. Look at 4-wide. 4-wide is a little ugly every time we go back there at the start of the season. And we're just talking about differences in staging. The tuning and the tune-up is no different. What are we going to see that is going to fundamentally change our appreciation for the sport of drag racing in that last 0.6 from 1,000 foot to 1,320? Please educate me. Bring me to your side. Win me over. Offer me some new perspective that I have failed to see and foresee. That the people and the many people that I have spoken with behind the scenes who have given me their professional and experienced opinions that have helped me formulate mine, that outweigh them. I'm interested. And then finally, bringing it back up after everyone had pretty much gotten over it. If it doesn't happen, then what? Then I guess everybody gets a real education into the viability, which is okay. People need to be able to roll with the punches. The fans that cast off something because of some BS reason are not real fans. They're not real fans. And that's it. If you can't get with this 1,000 foot for the reasons that we all understand, started in 2008, passing of Scott Coletta, that's what went down. That's why we did this. And since then, got a pretty good record, which, by the way, is not guaranteed. This is auto racing. These guys are going 300 miles an hour. We should always be moving forward in terms of safety and our thoughts about safety and what we want to do with safety. Is this one of them? I'm interested to hear your opinion. Joe at WFOradio.com. Please email me your thoughts. Don't go too crazy, guys. These 2-page emails, 2 pages, 3 pages. I like it, but it's impossible to share. I read them, but then I have to paraphrase like crazy. Give me a couple of paragraphs, man. Give me, 100 words. I can get that on the air. Hey, big thanks to Dom Lagana for giving us some information. Steve Torrence, Matt Hagan for giving their opinions. John Deflorian and Tii Tharpe, who already run quarter mile. Alan Reinhart. Open to the conversation. I'm open to the conversation, too. But I'm starting out with an opinion. And the initial opinion is, I'm not for it. Not right now. I have to be convinced the other way. Convince me that it's a good idea. Because I'm happy right now. I am happy with the sport of drag racing. We need more racers. Does this make more racers? I don't know. Does it cut costs? I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see how that cuts costs. To me, that increases costs. How do we get Bob Vandegrift to run all the races with his 2 cars? How do we get Dom Lagana a full-time sponsorship? How do we get Lex June and Audrey Worm so they can run a solid and competent 6 to 8 races a year and actually be able to afford to compete in 3 out of 4 qualifying sessions and advance their knowledge and abilities accordingly? That's what we need to be doing. And I'm all for that. And if they somehow, those 2 data points cross at some point, I'm down to hear it. I don't see it. Not yet. But I know the WFO audience, you guys are going to educate me with a flood of emails that I can then read on the show and see what people say. And again, I am open to being convinced. I change my mind. I change my mind all the time. I'm open to new information all the time. I am not hardened in my opinions. I am open to concepts and ideas. Always. Very open-minded. Oh, well, there's new information. Yes, I am willing to change my opinion about certain subjects. Just like that. I think being stubborn is being weak. So we'll see. We'll see what you say. And thank you for listening to my opinion and my starting point. But I'm not going to just sit on the fence and be like neutral on this one. No. I just spent, how many times have I said it? 1,000 foot. Thousands of times. And here we are back there. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. I had a great time in New England. I just want to say, Boston was fantastic. I loved the city. Had a great time. Food, fantastic. The people at New England Dragway, so nice. So many guys came up. WFO, I listened to the show. Thank you, guys. I don't know if I got to spend enough time with you, but I really appreciate it. It's what keeps me going, keeps me excited and animated about the sport, is that there are people who love and are passionate about what's going on. So good. And that little alcove track, you're up there. It's definitely a hassle to get there. It's definitely challenging for the teams to get there. It's not the most modern facility. They don't have a lot of amenities, but what they do have is a bunch of passionate drag racing fans that even the days after 4th of July, they showed up in good numbers, solid numbers, in force. Congratulations, New England Dragway. You guys did a good job with the crowd. Good job. And that's going to do it. All right, next week, I don't know what we're going to do. I have no idea. I can tell you Factory Stock Podcast with Drew Skillman is a must listen. You should listen to that because Drew is talking about rules in factory stock and what he thinks is fair and unfair, and he lays it out there in a very honest way that I know you will love, whether you agree or you disagree. That's what it is. Idea exchange. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. See you next time. WFO.
WFO! The views and opinions of the hosts, guests, or callers do not necessarily reflect that of the station ownership, advertisers, or agencies.
I love WFO radio. Oh, yeah.